Well, a terrific Tuesday afternoon. How are you? And welcome to the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook, and always presented by our title sponsor, PlayAlberta.ca, where you can get in the game. A heavy slate of NHL games tonight. Also, $60 million up for grabs. And Lotto Max, get your tickets alongside the 6 Max Millions at PlayAlberta.ca. And hey, if you want to double dip, you got Lotto 649, 28 Schmill tomorrow. So, woohoo. We'll see. I am Jason Gregor. He is Connor Halley. We got a loaded Tuesday show for you today. We'll talk some basketball with Sir. We got DVD, Mark Spector, Jason Strudwick, DVD and Struds switching times today. Also, Wyshynski will be by from ESPN. Ken Reed, Terry Ryan, of course, now on Tuesdays as our co-host. You can get involved. You can text us 833-401-1440 in our email inbox. Now, I know the big topic of the day. Everybody and Oiler fans, I see concern. I would say I wouldn't be that concerned in regards to Connor McDavid. I could see him missing 3 games. I'd be surprised if it was more than that. That's probably maybe the max, right? I don't expect him to play tomorrow. If you want my humble opinion on that, I'm just basically talking to people. I think tomorrow will be a no-go for 97, which makes sense, right? Then Friday, Arizona, Saturday, Vancouver. I think the most likely game, if he's going to play this week, would be the Canucks game on Saturday. So you could have the return of Demko and McDavid, but don't be shocked if he gets the whole week off. So all it depends on how he feels. And, he's ultra competitive. He'll want to play. But I also think this will be a little bit different than earlier in the season when he came back and played in the Heritage Classic. Right? He could play, but, a little extra rest, especially this time of year, would be better. And I think he knows that. I think the organization knows that. So, not that, and they never rushed him back beforehand, but just sometimes, a little bit of another 48 hours, 72 hours could make the difference. But I wouldn't expect McDavid tomorrow night against the Vegas Golden Knights, but you will see Dylan Holloway. Of course, he was recalled skating on a line today with McLeod and Perry. You had Kane, Henrique, and Fogle, and you had Nugent Hopkins, Draisaitl, and Hyman. Janmark, Ryan, Brown, and Carrick. Brown and Janmark are the wingers. Carrick and Ryan. I would go with. I could see Sam Carrick. Getting back in the lineup. Didn't play last weekend. Coach doesn't really like to keep guys out very often, so I could see that happening for sure. Also on the show, of course, national championship last night. UConn, pretty convincing victory. Game was really never in doubt. They just, they didn't have an answer for Edie, but they basically just took away their outside shooters and said, well, you know what, we'll take our chances there. And they won. They were the better team, back-to-back titles. Hard to argue with the success of UConn. Their coach's antics on the sideline, I just have to say, annoying. Like, oh my God, every foul is just freaking out at the refs. Like, I don't know, enough. I thought it was too much. Just for me, like, I've watched UConn. I don't know if he's normally that animated, but I'm like, maybe tone it down just a tad. You don't need to be freaking out on every call. Like, God, it's annoying. I don't like it. Just me personally. Connor Halley. Here, Cons, what do you think of the game last night?
Yeah, like you said, maybe not too much of a surprise. Humble brag, picked UConn, really went out on a limb this year and went with the number 1 ranked team in UConn. But yeah, they're just such a good team, the program. Going back to back, I think it just shows what they built there. And not getting, too worked up by the big moments, just kind of kept calm, cool, collected. Missed some shots too, but still found a way to get the job done. Cool for Edie, though. Thought, you got a chance to see what the big man can do. Curious to see what happens with him going into the next step in the next level of his career. But overall, March Madness, both sides of the brackets, men, women, did not disappoint. It was a whole lot of fun.
NHL last night. Toronto gets the overtime victory. Pittsburgh gets a crucial point. Meanwhile, Vancouver comes from behind on 2 different occasions to get the victory over the Vegas Golden Knights. And hey, the Vegas Golden Knights are a team that is really struggling defensively. If you look now, on December 20th, they were 20 points ahead of the Edmonton Oilers. December 20th. And now you look at the game, like the Oilers have made up 27 points in that time. 27. The Oilers right now are playing like Vegas did last year. They're the team that can score and a team that can defend. The Vegas Golden Knights right now are not a team that can defend. Their goals against in March, since March 1st, are higher than they have been even prior to that. They have been leaking goals. You look at, the Arizona third period was an absolute debacle. But, 4 to Vancouver. Well, I'll say 6 to Arizona, empty netter, sure. But that made it 7. But it was 6 with the goalie in goal. 5 of them in a span of 7 minutes in the third period when you had a 4-1 lead. So, yes, Vegas is not a team that the Oilers should be intimidated by. You want to respect your opponent? Of course. But there is zero reason for the Edmonton Oilers to be intimidated right now by the Vegas Golden Knights. None whatsoever. So, there's no reason to. Oilers are a good team. Now, obviously, without Connor McDavid, guess what? You got to win a game or two without your best player. Lots of teams have done it. The Oilers have done it in the past, too. I remember when McDavid missed 6 games a few years ago, and then Draisaitl was like, no problem. He scored 12 points in 6 games. That's what you need. You need guys to step up without McDavid in the lineup. There's no reason you can say, because the Oilers without McDavid on the ice are still a plus team this year. So find a way to get a win. It won't be easy, but buckle down. Now, what the Oilers? The one thing the Oilers have that they maybe didn't have in previous years when McDavid got hurt is they have a sound defensive structure. That shouldn't change. It shouldn't be like, oh my goodness, McDavid's not here. Now we got to leak goals all over the place. That shouldn't be the case. So we'll see how they fare tomorrow against Vegas. Makes the game a little bit more interesting, don't you think? There's still lots on the line for the Edmonton Oilers. If the Oilers win out, they finish first in the Pacific. So they do control their own destiny. They're 5 back of Vancouver, but they have 2 games in hand. And they play the Canucks on Saturday. So is it a long shot? Yes, but it's far from impossible. Just play well. Go 5-1, beat the Canucks. Then the Canucks have to go 3-0 in their other games. So put the pressure on Vancouver a little bit here down the stretch. Vancouver, though, picking up some wins. Get a little healthier. Demko might make his return Saturday in Edmonton. So we could have a Demko McDavid return to the lineup matchup. We'll see. 833-401-1440. Hey, guys. I think it's great that the Oilers are letting McDavid make the call, John of St. Albert. Well, I know the coach said that. Keep in mind, players always want to play. I think at this stage of this season, it won't just be McDavid saying, I want to play. I think the doctors will have a say in this. Trainers, physio, everybody who's working on it. This will be a collective effort. It won't just be one guy. Because, players always want to play. Oh, no, I'm good. I can play through it. Of course you can. Doesn't mean you should. So why wouldn't you take the rest? The Oilers don't have to finish first. It's not like, would it be a nice bonus? Yes. I don't think it's mandatory. There is zero. And I honestly think Connor McDavid's too smart to think like, oh, I got to play against Vegas. I'll say this right now. I would be stunned if McDavid is in the lineup tomorrow night. They will err on the side of caution, as they should at this time of season. It makes there is zero. Can you find one reason why you'd play him tomorrow? Tell me one. Right? He hasn't skated since their last game. So no chance he is playing tomorrow. Mark it down. No chance. Guys, I hope we end up second and Vegas plays Dallas and we play LA. It could happen. Right? Like if the playoffs were to start today, That's what would happen. But they don't start today. Dallas right now is the number 1 seed. Vegas is the number 8 seed. Now, Vegas does have a game in hand on Nashville. However, Nashville has the tiebreaker. So even if Vegas won their game in hand, they're still not ahead of Nashville. So they're essentially 3 points back is how you look at it. So if Nashville goes 2-2, they get to 98 points. Vegas has to go 3-1-1 in their last 5 to catch them. So it's not easy by any stretch. Now, LA a little bit different because they're essentially 2 points back of LA because LA also has the tiebreaker on them with 5 games to go. So they're 1 point back, but you got to pass them, so you'd have to be 2 points. You have to be a point up on LA. LA wins 3 games, then Vegas would have to go 4-1 to pass LA. Right? So if LA just goes 3-2. And LA, there's no guarantees in the NHL, but they got a pretty good chance tonight taking on the Anaheim Ducks, who are not necessarily great. Hey, Gregor, what were your thoughts on the Austin Matthews hit on Crosby last night? Accidental on purpose? I don't have a problem with it. Austin Matthews is a big guy. I had zero issue with it. I will say I found it. Now, maybe it was just a coincidence, but my goodness, every time Crosby went down last night, they blew the whistle. Seemed like it was pretty fast. So that's just something that stood out that I noticed. Hey, guys, it'd be nice to get some wins without McDavid. Well, yeah, of course, Tootsie Roll. Why wouldn't it be? They just want to play well. The Oilers, sometimes you're going to play well and lose. I think the Oilers tomorrow night is an opportunity just to continue to play well. All right, now, Pietrangelo is not on the lineup for Vegas. Right? Mark Stone's not on the lineup for Vegas. You can't just use, well, McDavid's out, so we should lose. No. Other team, Aiden Hill's not playing. Find a way to win. That's the way I look at it. A few other news and notes from around the National Hockey League. The games that matter tonight. And there's a few, probably not probably, but the biggest one, of course, Washington and Detroit going head-to-head. You also have the Flyers in Montreal. That's a must-win game for Philadelphia. To me, it's a must-win. They've only got 4 left. They can't afford to waste any, especially against the Habs. The Islanders hosting the Rangers. They'll play them twice down the stretch in their, the final 5 games. And I guess there's a little bit of playoff implications because the Kings in seeding, the Jets could still conceivably catch the Avalanche, who are hosting the Wild. So there's a game that has some playoff implications as well. Maple Leafs and Tampa Bay in action. Maple Leafs against the Devils. No Jack Hughes in that game. And the Lightning are hosting Columbus. So there's still a slight chance that Tampa Bay could catch Toronto. I think it's done, if I'm being completely honest. So you got to make up 6 points in 5 games. Like if Toronto wins 2, that means Tampa's got to go 5-0. So that's why I would say it's pretty much done. I think Toronto is going to finish 3rd, and it looks like Toronto's going to have a date with the Florida Panthers, whereas the Boston Bruins most likely going to face Tampa Bay. And then Boston will get the wild card team, and Carolina is going to get either the Islanders, Penguins, or the Capitals. Because sorry, Flyer fans, I know I shouldn't do it, but I can't see how they're going to get back in this at this point. They got fewer games. They're already, they're a point back. I don't know. It just doesn't bode well if you were a Flyers fan, the way your team is playing. Hey, guys, I just hope Vegas plays Dallas. Both of them get favorable officiating from the league, so it'll be good to get rid of one of them. Then between the winner of round 1 in Colorado, another league sweetheart be out of the picture, so advantage Oilers. Sam from Vancouver. Now, what makes you believe that those teams are getting benefits from the NHL? So, because if we look at power play opportunities per game. Now, Colorado's been one of the most, they get a lot of power play. But you know who gets the most power plays per game in the NHL? Any guesses, Connor Halley? Team that gets the most power play opportunities per game.
Colorado.
Second. The Ottawa Senators. Then Detroit. The Vegas Golden Knights are 10th. The Dallas Stars are 23rd. Oilers are 14th, in case you're wondering. So I don't know why you throw in Dallas is getting lots of they definitely don't get a lot of power plays. Now let's look at penalty kill times shorthanded. The Oilers 6th, Colorado 7th, Dallas 21st. Vegas actually doesn't take a lot of penalties, so 31st. So you're saying they get away with a lot of stuff? Maybe. Not so much Dallas. It's funny. I went through this last year looking at teams, and there are certain teams that have low power plays. They have low penalty kill. They just have low event games. And I find that the refs, now maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe there's some teams that are disciplined and don't draw penalties, or there's some teams that, guess what? There's not a lot of calls, so the refs just let more go or they don't call much. And Dallas, like the Columbus Blue Jackets have been a team that can't get power plays to save their life for many years. They don't take a lot of penalties either. They have some of the most uneventful games when it comes to penalty kill and power play. So, Gregor, what about the who gets more power plays to penalty kill? That's what matters. Are you guys serious right now? Sure. Just let's debunk a myth very quickly on live radio because it's always fun. So we'll look at power play opportunities, right? So the Dallas Stars they get 2.95 power plays per game. The Dallas Stars, 2.95 penalties per game. The exact same. They're getting no advantage. So there, that debunks your myth right there. The Dallas Stars, 2.95 for, 2.95 against. I would say a 0 advantage right there. 2:18, we'll take a quick break. We will return. We'll talk a little bit of hockey and more with Wyshynski on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Oh, baby. Getting set to rock and roll as the NHL playoffs. Really just right around the corner, 11 days away, as they will begin on the 20th of April. Edmonton Oilers, earliest they will play, sounds like, is the 21st. Obviously, they love to stretch it to the 22nd, but TV will have a big say in and when they play, when you have obviously one of the NHL's best players. TV wants to have you in prime time, and why would you want to give up a Sunday for playoffs? I totally get, from a business standpoint, why you would do it. Let's go around the NHL, brought to you by McDonald's. And, of course, right now you can get the McPick small combo, but only for another week. Junior chicken or the McDouble. Small fry, small fountain drink for only $5.79 at your local McDonald's, who are all locally owned and operated. Greg Wyshynski from ESPN joins us. And Greg, it is, it's a great race. I'm not sure how fast of a race it is, but it's still a race, and there's lots of teams in it. Pittsburgh finds a way to get a point last night. The Islanders, who looked for dead a few weeks ago, are actually in the driver's seat. All of a sudden, Detroit and Philly and Washington have lost their way into the race, I would say. I thought there was a 3-team race a week ago, and the 2 teams I thought were out now might be the teams with the best chance, the Islanders and the Penguins. It makes no sense.
It's interesting down the stretch for both of these teams because they've got kind of a different vibe as far as like their path to the end of the season. Like the Penguins, they have a couple of 4-point swing games. They have one against Detroit. They have one against the Islanders. What worries me a little bit about the Islanders is the rest of their schedule is really loaded with rivalry games. Like they play the Rangers twice. They play them tonight, then again on Saturday. They play the Devils, who will have nothing else to play for except to beat the Islanders. And then, of course, they finish the season against the Penguins in what could be a game that determines who gets in and who doesn't in the playoffs. So both teams have interesting paths towards the end of the season. But I don't know, man. I guess if pressed, I'd say the Penguins and the Red Wings might be my choices. I'm not a huge believer in the Islanders. If you look at their last 4 wins, 3 of them were against the dregs of the league.
Yeah.
I think Sid is obviously going to will the Penguins into the playoffs. I think we could say at this point. And then the Red Wings showed a lot of life in one of their recent wins, and we'll see what happens tonight against Washington. If they win this game against Washington, I mean that's a huge leap forward towards them getting their ticket punched.
Well, the Red Wings definitely are probably the team that can look and say, hey, we control it, because you play Washington and then you play Pittsburgh on Thursday, right? Now, I know that Pittsburgh and the Islanders end the season against each other, and Washington and Philly also play once. But, you win 2 head-to-head games in a span of 48 hours, you would give yourself a much better chance. But, of course, you lose both of them, they're definitely done. Tonight, to me, is whoever loses tonight's game is out.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say. I mean, I especially in the case of the Capitals, who've just been reeling lately. I mean, they can't seem to get any traction going, and they're losing some games in where it's not even like it's coming down to the buzzer or anything. Like they're just flat out losing some games. So that both, if you're looking at the sum total of the 5-team race, you'd have to say that the Penguins are probably the most ascendant, then the Islanders, then the Red Wings. And then the Capitals, and then probably the Flyers last insofar as teams that are just like staggering towards the finish. And I brought this up on our podcast, The Drop, today, the idea that, like, if you're Danny Briere and you're Keith Jones and you're looking at this situation right here, like, how upset are you that the entire run of this season will have been to finish a couple points out of a playoff spot and in the process completely ruin your draft lottery odds? Like, that's just it. I mean, if you don't get in, then what was it all for if you're the Flyers? Because we all know what their situation is as far as the franchise. I mean, they need a Celebrini. They need somebody at the top of this draft to really kind of, propel the rebuild. But instead, like, Torts is Torts. He gets as much out of a team as he can. If they fall short, then what was it all for?
Well, it's funny because one of the Flyers, Devils, and Sabres, one of them is going to finish like with the 12th worst record, so out of the lottery. We talked about the Devils. The Devils are sitting out Jack Houston. They don't want to win, to be honest. Really. Now, I know that not the players, but the organization's probably like, oh, Jack's out. This is a good thing for us.
For sure. And in fact, I mean, having spent some time around that team, there's some thought that maybe he probably needs a little tune-up in the off season too, as far as surgery goes.
Yeah.
With whatever he's been dealing with to kind of impact his effectiveness. So, you're right. It'll be interesting to see what happens down the stretch with those teams. But the bottom line for me is, if you're the Flyers and you've come this close and you don't close the deal, then it's weird to call a team that came out of nowhere and was in a playoff spot until the final 2 weeks of the season a disappointment. But it's got to be a disappointment based on the reality of their surroundings as a franchise right now.
Well, you talked about who the Islanders beat. What about who Philly lost to here down the stretch? All non-playoff teams, except they got 1 point against the Islanders. But you lose to Buffalo and you lose to Columbus, and my goodness, you work this hard to get this close, and then it's non-playoff teams that help kick you out of the playoffs. Maybe there's something fitting there. I don't know. Meanwhile, at the top of the standings, there is some interesting race. Now, the Rangers are in a pretty good spot here to finish first. And, it looks like if they do, they'll get obviously the 8-seeded team. And that means then the Atlantic Division is going to be Boston most likely against Tampa, Toronto versus Florida. So everybody stays in their division. There should be no crossover 4-4. I just want to point that out. It's the dumbest thing the NHL has ever thought of. But nonetheless, I look at like Carolina and the Rangers, like they got to be licking their chops. Because one of them is going to get whoever finishes third in that division, and the other one's going to get the team that squeaks in at number 8. Like, do you see any of these teams, Islanders, Penguins, anybody really giving Carolina or New York a run in round one?
Well, I think in a 7-game series, the Penguins could be a tough out. I mean, let's be honest; they get really good goaltending from Nedeljkovic like they've been getting, and they've got Malkin and Sid and Letang and Carlson. I mean, this is the kind of thing where in a 7-game series, you could see a veteran team squeaking out 4 wins potentially. The really interesting thing about the Penguins vis-a-vis their playoff matchups, it's either going to be Sid versus Gensel in a Carolina-Pittsburgh series, or it's going to be Sid versus Trouba. And remember the history between the Rangers and the Penguins in that playoff series. So whichever Jake you get, it's going to be a lot of fun for the Penguins and covering these series. Even the Rangers, we have a big story on ESPN.com today where I talked to some of the brightest hockey people I know from the analytics community to really break down the Rangers, what they are. Are they a cup contender? They've been an anomaly now for a couple of years, and this season really is maybe the greatest example of relying on your goaltending, relying on your power play. Now the penalty kill is great too, and your 5-on-5 numbers are extraordinarily pedestrian. And it's interesting to get their take on whether that means anything for the playoffs or not. But, a collision course between them and Carolina would be a lot of fun. I think Carolina is a team that plays a style that could give the Rangers a lot of trouble in the playoffs. But again, the Rangers, I mean, nobody's been outside of Dallas. Nobody's rolling like the Rangers have been rolling for the last month in this season.
It's true. Greg Wyshynski from ESPN joins us. I think they're like +6 or something like that. 162 to 156 goals, 5-on-5, and so which isn't ideal. But I don't know, man. They got a lot of talent across that team, and them and Carolina in the second round would be a hell of a matchup. I think that I could easily see Carolina winning because Carolina finally addressed, Greg, what they haven't had. Like Jake Gensel's come in and given them a legitimate game breaker.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the liaison has been clicking since the moment he got there. And don't sleep on the fact that Kuznetsov, for all of his defensive deficiencies, and it's interesting to see someone post the metrics he's been posting with Carolina. It seems like everybody on Carolina has great defensive metrics except for Evgeny Kuznetsov. But offensively, for all of the talk about his off-ice problems and things of that nature, this guy's pedigree as an NHL player has been performing in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Especially in that Washington Cup run. So, I mean, I think both of those guys, like you said, help try to solve the riddle that has faced the Carolina Hurricanes, which is where do you get that one goal to tip a game, to tip a series? Again, all the losses they had against the Panthers were 1-goal losses.
Yeah, well, so they can stay in the game. The race for awards this year, it's funny, people give different opinions on it. I'm one of the voters. I do a lot of research on it. Try to look up as many different things as I can. I take it quite serious. The Hart Trophy is definitely closer. Like I will say, I'm sorry, I'm not buying anybody who says Crosby should be a Hart Trophy winner. I look at every number, and there's nothing that tells me he should be in the same category or conversation the other 5 guys. Kucherov, McKinnon, McDavid, Matthews, and Panarin. He's outside of the Penguins with him on the ice or +5 at 5-on-5 with him off the ice. They're +5. There's no difference, right? Every other guy, there's a significant difference when they're on or off the ice. So I love the storyline. I get that he's 36 years of age, but the Hart Trophy isn't for, well, an older guy who's valuable to his team. So I don't get the Crosby. He's not in the mix for me at all.
Yeah, I mean, he's a little late to the party, and the party is quite full. Like it's already spilled out onto the sidewalk.
Yeah.
That's how many people we've got at this Hart Trophy party. Because again, like the last time we did the NHL Awards Watch, where we get the actual voters and their ballots to see where the wind's blowing on this thing, McKinnon had, I think, around 77% of the first place votes. Some people said that their support could waver a little bit if Connor got to 100 assists and the Oilers won the division, if Matthews hit 70. Like there's a little bit of wiggle room for some of the voters on the McKinnon side, but his support has never really wavered for the last several months. And you think about the point streaks he's had. I think about the value that he's had to the Avalanche. It's palpable. It's when he scores. It's how he plays. And every single other candidate for this award has already won. And you can't discount the fact that the voters either want to give McKinnon something he's never won before, or want to rectify the fact that Taylor Hall won it in a year where a lot of people feel like McKinnon should have won it, which is dumb, but it's how they think. And so I expect he's going to. Yeah, no, for real. Like there's a notion out there that he should have won a Hart already, and that Hall didn't deserve it that year, that McKinnon deserved it. It's out there, trust me.
Oh God.
The thing for me though, honestly, is like I'll be honest. I mean, I haven't solidified my ballot yet, but if I had to make a choice right now, it'd be Kucherov. I got to be honest with you. It would not be McKinnon. It would not be McDavid. It would not be Matthews. It'd be Kucherov. That guy is a country mile ahead of the next highest scorer on the Lightning. The Lightning, did not get a good Vasilevsky for most of this year. In fact, we're missing him for at least a month and a half at the beginning of the season. And overall, their supporting cast is nowhere near as good as it was in previous seasons. And in fact, doesn't have Sergachev for a good chunk of the season too. I think this guy is the reason they're in the playoffs. I no question about it. The stuff that he's done for this team, the impact that he's had, I just think that Kucherov's the MVP, and I think I'm on an island because I think the McKinnon thing is probably going to happen, but I will gladly make the case for Kucherov being the Hart Trophy winner this year.
Yeah, I thought Kucherov. I looked at a lot of his numbers, and the thing was for me, like McKinnon, when he's on the ice at 5-on-5, they're plus 33. When he's off, they're -8. So it's like a 41 differential. It's minus 26 for Tampa when he's off, and Kucherov and +4. So he's 30, which is second. But when I look at the sporting cast, everybody, it's true about Rantanen, but actually Kucherov's 4 like second to fifth teammates have more points than the second to fifth teammates in Colorado. And so the depth, Colorado's depth after Rantanen and McKinnon falls off a cliff. And that's why, honestly, Colorado to me is the one of the top teams when I look at point wise. I think they're ripe for an upset. I really do. I think Colorado's the team that's ripe for an upset.
It's funny you should say that. I was asked about that this morning in an interview, and they were asking me, what is the team that you're looking at that could get upset in the first round? And I said Colorado. It's not necessarily just because of the deficiencies that they have in their lineup. It's because they're going to be going up against the Winnipeg team that kind of seems like it's found its footing again late. I mean, they're scoring a bit more. They're playing better D. We all know what Hellebuck can do in a series. When the Jets have played well, they have looked like a team that could beat anybody in this league. And they're starting to get a little bit of that mojo back at the right time. And it could be that Colorado's catching Winnipeg at the wrong time. It's hard to conceive the Avalanche checking out in the first round of consecutive seasons. But I think there's a possibility if it's in fact Winnipeg in that first round, and it looks like it's going to be.
Well, and Winnipeg concerns me for a series. I don't think they have enough offense to go deep in the playoffs, and I think they're in the toughest spot because they got to face Colorado and then probably Dallas. And man, I really like the Dallas Stars right now, Mike. Especially that Ottinger's kind of woken up here in the last 2 weeks because they always had the defense, they've always had the forwards. They just weren't getting great goaltending. Now they get good goaltending. I watch out for Dallas, man. They look really good to me. Is there one team that you've liked even more, maybe down the stretch at all?
No, I mean, to me, Dallas has been the most impressive team down the stretch in either conference. Like you said, not only because Ottinger's finally found his form at the right time, but just because of their depth. I mean, their forward depth is maybe unequaled at this point in the league as far as the contributions throughout the lineup, each line kind of giving them a different thing. The ascension of Wyatt Johnston into a premium goal scorer in this league only makes it dangerous. They've got just a bunch of really good veteran guys, some good youth. It all comes together. You look at their roster and just like, oh, that makes sense. It makes sense they would win this year because they've got the best balance. They've got a franchise goaltender. And, not for nothing, but they also have a few guys that you kind of want to see maybe get a ring. Like, I mean, what a joy it would be to see Joe Pavelski cap a career where he scored, 200 goals, taking a puck off his face to finally get a chance to hoist the cup after having sacrificed his body for the better part of 2 decades.
Lastly, what do you make of, Chris Knobloch, since he took over, has the best record in the NHL by fair margin. The Oilers have a 730 points percentage. No one else is over 700, right? Like, they're third in offense, they're fifth in defense, their power plays fourth, their penalty kill is I think 11th. Does he have a chance, or because he joined 13 games in, it's not enough, do you think, to get some Jack Adams love for Knobloch?
We've definitely seen guys come in in season to win the Jack. Like, it's not impossible. I think the problem for him is that the lion's share of the credit for their turnaround probably goes to Connor versus the coach. And, it was because, I mean, when Woodcroft gets fired, it was at a time when McDavid didn't look like he to his own admission, he wasn't on his game. Then he gets crazy going when Knobloch takes over. Clearly, there should be some credit given to the coach for that. But I think Connor probably gets the credit for it. The other problem, too, is just like with the Hart, it's a very crowded field. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have Tocchet, who's been leading the award the entire season. Demonstrable defensive improvement under his system. And then you have guys like Andrew Brunette. I mean, if your calling card is I canceled the field trip to see you too, and then we won the next 16 games, I mean, it's a pretty impressive case to make for Coach of the Year. Mm-hmm. And then you have Jim Montgomery, then you have Tortorella, even though it looks like they're going to miss the playoffs. Like, there's a lot of names in the mix right now. But I mean, I think Knobloch deserves a lot of attention for having overseen the turnaround in Edmonton. It's just a matter of whether or not the support's going to be loud enough amongst the broadcasters. Remember, not the writers, the broadcasters, that he's going to get a nomination. And
lastly, Greg, it's near the end of the season. Who has emerged as your Lady Byng favorite?
All right. Well, as you know, my rap on this is that the writers should not vote for the Lady Byng. We are the last people that should be the judge of anything gentlemanly. And so I've always said it should be the players and the refs, or maybe just the refs, that vote on this thing every year. They would know better than us. Traditionally, the award goes to the best player with the fewest number of penalty minutes. At last check, I think that was Elias Pettersson. He seems like a nice guy. He's Swedish. That tells you a lot. So, I mean, who's the nastiest Swede we've ever met? What, Ulf Samuelsson? Other than that, like, a lot of them are real nice guys. So I'll say Lady Byng, Elias Pettersson.
Elias Pettersson. All right. I'm a big fan. I think defensemen get overlooked in this award far too often, but there's none really this year who, guys, usually I look at guys who play a ton of minutes, they're defending and they never take penalties. Like, to me, that's rather genuinely, but this year they're all gooning it up. They're all gooning it up. None of us know.
Yeah. None of us know for sure. None of us know what these guys are actually doing, if they're gentlemanly or not. Yeah. And by the way, a defenseman, goalies are the ones who get the shaft on the Lady Byng. They're out there longer than anybody during the game.
Yeah, well, I was going to vote Binnington 5th on my ballot this year. Just throw it in there.
Didn't have a fight.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he came so close, but he was always able to control his emotions and never have to go through with it.
I like that. I like the idea of the Lady Byng being extended to psychopaths who keep their emotions in check. Like, if Tom Wilson doesn't get a suspension for a full season, who's to say he shouldn't be a Lady Byng winner, right?
True. Well, if you apologize right away, that should probably get you some bonus points.
That's right, too. That's gentlemanly.
I would love a Pretender of the Year award. God, that's
like an embellisher diver award.
Yeah. Like, Rasmus Anderson would be at the top of my list for sure.
Yeah. The Diego Maradona award for hockey embellishment.
Yeah, you make that award. Trust me, you don't want that award. And you do it once, and all of a sudden, guys are stopping diving because they don't want the award. That's the easiest way to get rid of it.
You don't want that at all. No. You win the award, and it comes with a $5,000 fine.
Yeah, that'd be unbelievable. Yeah. Well, you just get mocked because everybody would know that's a diver, and they don't want him. So it wouldn't be good. Greg, enjoy the stretch run here in the East. We'll find out. Big game tonight, Detroit and Washington. Then you got the Detroit and Pittsburgh, the Islanders in Pittsburgh next week. It should be fun, even though it's kind of a turtle race. It's still exciting.
Will do. Thanks, man.
There you go. That's Greg Wyshynski from ESPN. Think about it. If you could vote one player for your pretender of the year, who would it be? 833-401-1440. Let us know. Pretender of the year. Who would it be? Quick break. We'll return. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you on Sports 1440 and Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook. $247. Sports 1440. Now, I said pretender, and pretender doesn't always have to mean a diver. I know we got a lot of votes coming in for Stutzel, Zegras, Jack Hughes for divers. Well, I'm talking pretender, right? Like, to me, Binnington would be in the category. Like, how many times have you seen him act tough, never actually go through with it? Ever. I've never seen it. But if you want to put diver in the category, I'm not going to protest. But, like, you see Rasmus Anderson on the, I can't believe the official fell for that. That was terrible in the order game. But he'll dive. But then, you know, he's the guy who's talked really tough, has never done it. And that's the thing. Like, I don't mind if you're not tough. There's lots of people who aren't tough. I don't think I ever consider myself super tough. But I never walked around telling everybody else they weren't tough. And, oh, yeah, well, this guy's a man. I'm like, what? I had a few fights in my life, but I definitely didn't brag that I was tough. And to me, that's what a pretender is. Has Anderson ever shown anything other than a pretender? I don't think so. Hey, boys, Nick Cousins by a mile from Derek. Oof. That's a good one. Although Cousins has fought a few times, I will say that. And his act got him in trouble, but at least he did actually step up a few times. But I don't mind that one. He'd get some votes. That's good. Guys, didn't Anderson get fight Darnell Nurse once? Well, yeah, that was like in rookie camp, right? Wasn't that in the rookie tournament many moons ago? Yeah, so I'm talking for the last like 6 years in the NHL. But it's good memory. They get fed. Let's get to the basketball report brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling, where the rates never change. Doesn't matter. You have your AC leaking, your furnace conks out, you need it fixed on the weekend, late at night, call Legacy. No overtime charges. That's how they build a legacy at legacyheating.ca. As host of the basketball show Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. here on Sports 1440. Paul Sir joins us, and Paul, it was quite the March Madness for both the men and the women. Probably two of the big favorites ended up winning. South Carolina runs the table. UConn defends their title, first time in 17 years. The team has gone back to back. Which of those two teams was more impressive to you, if that's even a fair question?
Boy, I don't know that it is a fair question because they're both unbelievably impressive. Dawn Staley, Jason, what she did with the South Carolina girls is amazing, given that they didn't have any of their starters back.
Yeah.
And so they turn around after a one-loss season, come back with an undefeated season, and clearly the dominant team in the NCAA women, the very, very charmed NCAA women's event, which, my goodness, what a run for women's basketball, and exciting to see where this goes from here after the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. Everybody got what they wanted, Iowa versus South Carolina. So very impressive. But UConn, they're both great coaches. Dawn Staley for South Carolina and Hurley for UConn. But I think Hurley is the story. Like, I think he's head and shoulders miles ahead of everybody else as a coach in the NCAA.
Really?
And that's why I think UConn won, is because they had great players who executed the system that they were asked to execute. But Hurley, what he does is so much better than what everybody else does.
In what regard as a coach?
Well, one thing that's happened with basketball is it's become homogenized. Most teams run the same stuff, run the same plays or actions, whatever people want to call them.
Okay.
Hurley at Carolina does not do that. When you watch the complexity of what he has his players doing on both sides of everybody without the basketball is doing something with purpose, no matter where they are on the court. Where you look at Purdue, and I think it was a perfect example last night of Purdue. Basically, they had a pick and roll for their point guard who tried to turn the corner and penetrate into the lane and kick it out to a shooter, or they dropped it into the great Zach Edey. And I mean, Edey was phenomenal through the whole tournament.
Yeah,
but they were one-dimensional. Hurley came up with a defensive scheme. It bothered Edey. But more importantly than that, they used the strategy. Edey's going to get his. Let's bother him, make it hard for him, but take away the three-point shot from everybody else. And because Purdue stands and waits for the kick, that's what they did. Where with UConn, they were beating you with kick-out threes, mid-range pull-ups, getting to the basket. Like they were very difficult to guard because everybody was moving, everybody was screening. Everybody was looking for the options out of their offensive sets. And it just is so much. It was beautiful to watch. And the commentators spent a lot of time talking about that last night, and it was deserved.
Paul Sir joins us. So, Paul, you look at Zach Edey, and, we've seen the development of his game, which doesn't surprise me that a big man, he benefited from staying another year in college. You can work on things. You get stronger. You get a little bit quicker. Try different moves. When I watch Edey, you see him, obviously not one-dimensional, but he's not a guy who shoots from outside very much. Can he bring that to his game, Paul, or is he just going to have to be an inside big man?
Well, I think he can. Hard to say because, like you said, Jason, over a period of several years now, he's developed into the great player that he is as the two-time player of the year in the NCAA. That's a huge accomplishment. But he's going to have to be able to step out and hit a face-up jump shot. If not a three-pointer, at least a 15 to 17-foot shot.
Yeah.
And right now he can't do that.
No.
And so in order to play in the NBA in a meaningful way, he's going to have to be able to do more than just catch it low and play bully ball going to the basket. And that sounds a bit condescending because that's not just what he does. He's fantastic, but he's not just going to be able to park in the middle of the lane in the NBA. He's going to have to step out and guard, and he's going to have to become more versatile. So he seems to have a great work ethic, a great attitude. So I hope, you know what? I hope he can, and I hope he finds a team that values the fact that he's 7'4" and 300 pounds and a smart, hardworking guy, and try to make it an effective part of an NBA program. I really do, because I hate to see him have happened to him what happened to Garza, who led the nation in scoring for Iowa, and then turns around and he's just a barely play 6'11" guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But I agree with you though, Jason. He's going to have to diversify his game.
Yeah. Paul Sir joins us from the basketball show here on Sports 1440 every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. If you love basketball, you should tune into the show. No question. We turn over to now, Caitlin Clark. Obviously, she comes out to, you haven't really seen, well, never really seen anybody come out with this much flair and excitement out of college for the women's game. Now she goes to the WNBA, and there's very few superstars in any sport that come out and are great right away. Some in basketball, if you can be a shooter, maybe you can. What's your expectations of her, and do people need to be realistic rather than think that she's just going to come in and dominate?
I think they have to be realistic. I think she can come in and be really effective. And the reason I think that is because she's such a great passer. Like, I look at her passing as much more important for her going to the WNBA than the fact, like, if she led the nation in scoring, that would be a huge accomplishment, Jason. But the fact that she led it in assists as well, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so her passing game should translate really well to the WNBA. But I mean, if you watch her play defense, she's not a great defensive player, certainly not one-on-one. She's going to have to improve there. She's going to have to get stronger. She's going to have to temper her shot selection. She's not going to go to Indiana and then be able to start chucking threes whenever she feels like it. So she reminds me almost exactly of Pete Maravich when he came out of school, long time ago. Everybody, great scorer, but he really had to learn a number of different things about the NBA game, and then he became a Hall of Fame NBA player. So that's the person I compare her to. But I have no doubt she's going to come and impact not just the team, but the league, and the way she's impacted women's basketball and elevated the game through the excitement that she's created has been just a fantastic story for the last 2 years.
Paul, switching to the NBA, we're getting down, just like we are in the National Hockey League, down to the final weeks of the season. Are you surprised? Like, I was a little surprised when the Bucks made the coaching change, and the coaching change has actually gone worse. Like, they're a 500 team since they brought in Doc Rivers.
Yeah, they're a franchise, I think, that's in trouble. I really do, because this is not what people expected at all from Milwaukee. There is something wrong in that locker room. That's the way I look at it. Middleton's back. You have a new coach. You get beat by the Raptors, the Grizzlies, and look bad doing it. It wasn't like they were playing well or the Raptors had an unreal game. Raptors played better than terrible, which they've unfortunately been playing.
Yeah.
And but you shouldn't be beaten by a team like that, and they're getting beaten by that all the time. All signs would point to that, unless there's something that transforms this team, this could be a first round knockout for the Bucks, and then I think the whole franchise could implode. I really do. I'm just talking off the cuff. Antetokounmpo must not be happy.
Hmm.
The experiment with Lillard has been just not much of a success. You've got a good player in Lillard. You've got a great player in Antetokounmpo. I don't know what the reason was for the coaching change mid-season. You bring in Doc Rivers, who, aside from Boston's 2008 championship, hasn't done anything.
No.
He's got great teams and hasn't done anything.
Yeah. No.
So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Bucks have been they've been brutal. I think that could be a quick exit, head to the golf course, and then let's see what happens in that small market franchise.
Yeah, well, you hope they don't go just to the wayside, but something's off there. It seems very odd to me. So I don't get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they have they're still in second place and they haven't done anything, which kind of shows you how the rest of the East, I don't know, Boston's just going to breeze through the playoffs because I don't even see a second team that I say, wow, this team's really good.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't see one team right now. The only asterisk I may put would be if Embiid and the 76ers, with him being back, get back to their early season form. But that's a big if. And I would say probably an if that won't happen. So I agree with you. I think Boston's just going to cruise into the finals.
Paul, great stuff, man. What's coming up on the show on Saturday?
We're going to review the NCAA, start doing our NBA previews. We're going to talk a little 3x3, and we're going to talk about the WNBA coming to Edmonton and start really building that up. Plus, start talking more and more about the looming CEBL Edmonton Stinger season just around the corner. So great guests and a great lineup that we're finalizing. So hope everybody will tune in because so much hoops to talk about.
Yeah, there's lots. Awesome stuff, man. We appreciate it. We'll tune in on Saturday, 10 a.m. right here on Sports 1440. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Jason.
There you go. That's Paul Sir. It's a great show, man. If you haven't tuned in yet, been on for a few weeks, tune in Saturday mornings. Right after the Comment and the Fellas are on this Saturday at 9. Then you get into the basketball show from noon until 2. It is 3 o'clock. We'll get to a sports update brought to you by BIE Engineering, specializing in all your residential, commercial, and industrial structural engineering needs. Go to BIEENG.com.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Some news from the Edmonton Oilers today. Connor McDavid did not practice. Head coach Chris Knobloch said he would consult the center on Wednesday ahead of their home date against the Vegas Golden Knights. The coach listed McDavid's status as day-to-day. McDavid entering today in the NHL, third in the league and scoring with 130 points, including a league-high 99 assists. The Oilers also recalled Dylan Holloway from the Bakersfield Condors. Holloway appeared in 18 games with the Condors, scoring 10 goals and 6 helpers. On the ice tonight, it's a busy one. You got the Hurricanes, Bruins, Canadians, Flyers, Caps travel to Detroit. The Lightning hosting the Columbus Blue Jackets sends in Sunrise. Devils take on the Maple Leafs. The Rangers battle the Islanders. Jets up against the Preds. Dallas takes on Buffalo. Colorado meets Minnesota. The Flames in San Jose, and the Ducks taking on the Kings. In the association, the Raptors back in action. They'll host the Pacers. Tip-off at 5 o'clock. Major League Baseball, Blue Jays will take on the Mariners just after 5 o'clock. One game going on right now. Orioles lead the Red Sox 6-1. That's in the top of the ninth. Still to come today, Guardians host the White Sox. The Brewers in Cincinnati. Astros travel to Kansas City. Twins host the Dodgers. Phillies in St. Louis. You got the Rangers up against the Athletics. Diamondbacks in Colorado. Padres taking on the Cubs. And Angels meet the Rays. One final earlier today, the Tigers knocked off the Pirates 5-3. In the AJ, we've got Game 7 action tonight. Whitecourt takes on Canmore. That one gets going at 7 o'clock. And some news from the CFL. The Edmonton Elks have signed a trio of players: wide receiver Hergy Ayala, offensive lineman Shane Richards, and Hunter Stewart. Richards was the number 1 overall pick in the 2019 draft. Ayala, number 8 pick in that same draft, and Stewart enters his 10th CFL season. He was also a former first-round selection. Coming up in hour 2 of the Jason Gregor Show, we will be joined by former NHLer, star of Shoresy, Terry Ryan, as well as Derek Van Diest from NHL.com. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Thunderbirds and operates both the Silent Ice Gardens
Hey,
in
Terry,
Morinville
can you
and the new state-of-the-art Silent Ice Center in Nisku, which features
Perfect.
2 sheets of ice, including
Just want
a
to make sure you can hear us.
1,600-seat
Looks like we're
arena,
good to go.
as
We'll
well
be up
as
in
Summit
about 30
Restaurant.
seconds here.
Price
3:07. Welcome back, Jason Gregor. Caller Connor Halley with you on a lovely Tuesday. Of course, as always, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. It's Tuesday, baby. Hey, are you something gone good for you today? You're like, you know what? I'm feeling lucky. Wow. Might be the time to go to PlayAlberta.ca. $60 million up for grabs in the Lotto Max and 6 Max Millions. So check it out. Good luck at PlayAlberta.ca. As we welcome to the show, he is a 2-time author, former NHLer, currently stars as Hitch on Shoresy. Also, not afraid to send a video of his feet to those who ask. Terry Ryan joins us on the show. TR, how you doing?
Not bad. Nice addition there. Giving me a promo there for my cameo business.
Yeah, that's right. Hey,
You know what?
if you want a cameo, that was circa pre-Shoresy, right? Like nowadays, I don't know if Hitch would do that, right? That was pre-Hitch.
What? The all those cameos?
No, the foot cameo.
Oh, the foot cameo. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. And I used the money. I needed it at the time. It was good
Yeah.
coin. I was transitioning, and it was almost transitioning occupation wise, and
Yes.
it was almost $1,000. And how about this? I got to give a shout out. You asked me how my day's going.
Yes.
To Signature Dental here. They got me in today. So this tooth here, I was eating a protein bar earlier, and it came out. So I got to go to Winnipeg tomorrow morning to do a charity event with Mike Keane. So I was just in, man. I went to 4 different places. They couldn't do it. And then there's a little spot here in Mount Pearl, and they got me in immediately, and they saw to me, and I'm all good after it took about 40 minutes.
So that was a fake one that fell out?
It came out about a year ago. I don't know what they're called, but you know what I mean? When they shave down, your tooth is cracked, so they shave it into a post and they put a crown, I think they call it, on there.
Sure, yeah.
So the crown, but about a year ago it came out. I was chewing gum and it came out, and I stuck it back up there, and it stayed up there. And I even honestly, I was like, do I go? Like, I just tried to do the math. I looked online, there was nothing. So I put a little bit of crazy glue down in the tooth, and I'm like, either it works or it doesn't. But I mean, crazy glue. Yeah. So
it lasted for a year.
I didn't think about the poison part of it. Like, it's probably not good that I was swallowing excess. I guess I was. I mean, I don't know. I put it in there. I put a quite healthy portion in. But anyway, I shoved it up, and it stayed up there until I was. You give it a shout out. Aloha protein bars. You can start and get them in Canada. They're in the United States, and I met the owner, Brad. Can't remember his last name. Played a charity game with him in Binghamton, New York, just a couple of days ago. It was a good time.
So now the one tooth that you leave out, is that for your character? Do you have a temporary one you can put in?
I got it, and I do have one in the car, and then Jared Kiso gets us all unique gifts when we got a season in the bag, and he gave me a gold one at the end of season 1. Now I wear that on special events. It looks quite pretentious if not, but I wear it when I can tell the story. Like I actually, when we went on stage, man, what a time in Halifax. It was a Progressive Club dinner, and I went up before Carey Price, and it was Rod Black interviewing us all one by one. Josh Deck, a Paralympian, one of the biggest stories that I've heard. He broke his back, comes back, did a flip in the Extreme Games. A real interesting Canadian, that guy, Paralympian. We had a great chat. Atiba Hutchinson, one of the best Canadian soccer players ever.
Yeah.
I asked him. He said he'd come on the show. He went on. Actually, I went on before him for good reason. And then it was Carey Price, and Rod Black was moderating. It was a really, really interesting time, a great time. I can't say enough about it. Yeah, it was fun.
Oh, all right. So the gold tooth, pretentious, eh? Well, you
sorry. Yeah.
It looks like it's a little bit too much for you.
Yeah, sorry. So at an event like that, when didn't forgot where I was going. I wear it, and then you talk to people, and you can kind of tell the story. And a lot of people wanted to hear about Shorzy, and it's a nice little nugget of information. But I think subconsciously, what I would see, like if I go out, say I don't know, to get groceries, and I got it in, and, you're wearing joggers and a hoodie, and you got
like a drug dealer.
Yeah, kind of. And even then, even if you're right, though, more drug dealer than anything. Let's just say I'm dressed okay and I go downtown on a Friday night, right? I got jeans on, some snake skins, leather jacket, whatever. I'm feeling good. It almost says like, okay, those are expensive. So this guy, like, even if I had a $2 million, I would never have $3,000 on hand to buy a gold tooth. Let's money Penny Lane could go to college or something. But it was a gift. And I've used it twice. Remember I told you I played a pirate a little while ago? I was going to do it with no tooth in like every other time. Like every time I get a roll, I'm like, yawn, I know it's no tooth. Only one ever did I wear my tooth. And I've had lots. But these guys wanted, they go, you know what? Wait, it's a pirate, and we kind of want you to rock the gold tooth. Like, that's probably better than no tooth.
It's true.
So it did come to my advantage a few times.
Oh, well, hey, we could call you Gold Tooth. One of my buddies dated a girl once. We called her Wood Tooth because she there used to be a bar on White Avenue, and God, I can't remember the name of it, but it had like the almost like the black lights in the room. And so we went in there, and she was like tall volleyball player, very attractive girl. And then she smiled. She had a fake tooth, but in the light, it looked like it was a wood tooth because it had all the stripes. So my buddy,
in the black light.
Yeah, in the black light. So my buddy nicknamed her Wood Tooth because we always had nicknames for our buddies, the Onion, Hutch, whoever, good looking boy. And so she was Wood Tooth.
Wow, that's it. Did she resent that name?
Well, they didn't date long enough for her to really get to know the name herself. It was more an inside one. But I got a girlfriend once who I called her T-Rex because she used to walk around like a T-Rex with her arms out, and she thought it was pretty funny. So
that's more often than not my nickname in the film world. I don't really reveal that too often. Not that
T-Rex.
A lot of people around here in Newfoundland, not up in Shorzy, but do a lot of work around here, and it's evolved. T-Rex.
All right. There you go. Hey, I want to get your thoughts on, lots of things going on in the NHL. There's a little bit of a, turtle race for the final two playoff spots in the Eastern Conference. It's entertaining because there's lots of teams in it. I'm not sure any of them are that good, but I do want to ask you, I don't know if you did you see any of the Toronto-Pittsburgh game last night or the highlights? Like Sidney Crosby, and I get that Sidney Crosby is one of the top 10 players of all time, but it just seemed like like last night, every time Sidney went down, there was like the quickest whistle blowing I've ever seen.
Why did they? Okay, the couple times was questionable to say the least, but I don't understand why the whistle went when him and Matthews down the corner. I watched the whole game. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
I mean, you know what I hate about it too is that I don't think Crosby wants that treatment. He often yells at the ref. I saw once he said that you were wrong there on the hand pass. And he added a few choice words to that, but. Even though he does lose his mind, it's a guy being passionate. And I don't know if he necessarily wants special treatment because I think that's obvious. And in that particular play, it's almost frustrating at a play. I'm not at all upset at Crosby, but it kind of gives him a reputation. The ref is playing into a reputation as a crybaby because the ref didn't need to make that call, nor the one before it, nor the high stick. I mean, I see it one way. Other people might see it another, but there's no way you can watch that game and not think that Sidney Crosby was getting the benefit of the call there.
Yeah. I think it's rebar. People are asking, I think it was called rebar. Just, I always like to try to remember the name of the place we're talking about. I think it was rebar on White Ave that had the lighting in it. Someone can confirm that, but I'm pretty sure. I know it was on the south side of White Ave around like 107th, I think it was, if memory's correct, maybe 106, but I'm pretty sure it was rebar. Anyway, Connor McDavid, TR, I don't expect him to play tomorrow against Vegas. He's a little nicked up. I've been told nothing serious. Might miss a game or two. We'll see. Obviously, there's zero reason to rush him. The Oilers don't have to finish in first place in the Pacific Division. If they finish second, fine. Like if they finish first or second, I think they're playing either LA or Vegas. It doesn't really matter either way. And right now it doesn't matter. You're not sure. It's going to be dependent on what LA and Vegas do between the two of them to see who finishes third and who finishes in the wild card spot. But for the Edmonton Oilers, is it a good thing maybe to say, like, we got to see where we're at without McDavid? Like, lots of teams have played a few games without their best players at times, this season. Vegas has played. Petrangelo's missed a lot of time. Stone's missed a lot of time. Martinez, you go down the list. Now, they're obviously not McDavid, but Petrangelo's a pretty good player. Aiden Hill's been out. If it's only, like, obviously long-term injury to any key guy, I think becomes harder. But for 1 or 2 games, it's like an easy rallying cry, isn't it?
Well, first of all, in a perfect world, if it is 1 or 2 games, and if he did just have a nick, assuming that's true, then I would kind of welcome that opportunity. I'd want to see exactly what I got, because hockey's one sport, well, any of the major sports, I guess, but I wouldn't want my best player to be going down at this time. It's a long, hard-fought playoff race, and with a guy that's proven to be so competitive, and I know they haven't made the final yet, but it's not due to him. Like, he's a horse, and he's going to play. He's going to give you a lot of minutes, a lot of great minutes. He's likely going to be up there in the top scorers, if not the top, right off the bat. And so if you can have success without him, and if guys, how many people are out there questioning guys like Zach Hyman or the rest of the team or Bouchard or anybody who benefits from getting a lot of points due to that? Now, I think they're fine anyway. Obviously, it's a huge loss, but I think the Oilers have a good enough supporting cast. They can beat any team without him. But obviously, you don't long for that opportunity unless, well, 2 games is an opportunity. Anything beyond that is a detriment. Now, as far as you said, though, I don't know about a nick, though. Like, if it's the play I looked at, it's either ankle or knee, right? We're not talking about he took a shot and it's a bruise. That, to me, any nick, that's a bruise. That's if you shoot it and it goes off my arm. Now I know it's going to get better. I can do ice, whatever. Don't have to do much. I can't play now, but it's going to be better. But I don't know. Maybe it's like I went in the same position that I think was the play he got hurt on when I had a high ankle sprain, and I skated right on. No problem. End of my career. Now, I'm not saying it's going to end his career. I was an idiot. I played for 3 months on top of it, shooting it up with cortisone, not getting it checked, thinking I could come out of it because it didn't hurt real bad. It wasn't broken ribs. I'm off, right? It was as bad as that, but I didn't feel it like that. So I hope that, I know it's not the question you asked here, but I hope we're talking about a nick. Any joint, ankle, knee, shoulder, elbow, wrist, that's not really a nick unless it's a bruise. It's beyond a nick, but who knows? What do I know? I'm just assuming, judging on one play that I saw on Twitter.
I was told it might be upwards of a week, which, they played Saturday, so a week means they'd miss 3 games, right? He'd miss Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. And so, but you know what? Could he come back on Saturday? I wouldn't be shocked if he does, but he's definitely
could he be out till the next Saturday? Would you be shocked? Like, we're all going. If you're the Oilers, what do you say? There's nothing wrong. He's all good.
No,
right? Might be. We're talking about Saturday, maybe Tuesday. I don't know. I don't like the smell of it. I don't.
No, I don't. The source who told me is usually a pretty reliable source, so I think
okay. Well, you know more.
who's not wouldn't over dramatize it, wouldn't try to underrate it. Didn't sound like it's anything too serious, but it is fair to say, oh my goodness, at this time of year to your best player, you know what? The one benefit would be, because a lot of people are like, well, I want McDavid to sit out a few games. I got too many games. Well, now he's going to sit out 2 or 3 games, right? So in a weird way, you got your wish. Obviously, it's not because he's perfectly healthy, but the Oilers did play 5 and 8. Now they're playing 6 and 9 starting tomorrow. It might not be the end of the world, if he misses a game or 2, as long as it is just because some guys do just get nicked up for a week, right? Like it happens there. You know what? You get a bruise. You might even have a sprained ankle, as long as it's not a high ankle sprain, right? Like high ankle sprains can linger quite a long time. So. Obviously you mentioned the knee. You don't want it to be anything structural. I didn't get that. Now, granted, I didn't dig as deep as I should have, but so we'll see where it goes. But it is one where I kind of see now. Let's see how the team steps up. Like you can't. Oh, McDavid's out. They can lose. Like other teams play without their top guys. To me, I think tomorrow's a really good challenge just to say, hey, we're a pretty good team even without McDavid.
Yeah, I think they're a great hockey team, and I would hope that people aren't thinking because he's out that all of a sudden now they're so much more susceptible to lose. I think you put yourself in the best position with him. If Connor McDavid didn't exist, the Oilers have a very complete team. I really believe that. No team's going to be perfect with the cap and all that going on, and so many people changing every year. That's why at the deadline, this year especially, there's really all those things happen. How many teams thought they had a shot at it? Legit. I don't know. You asked me to name my top 10 now. I could put them in any order. I wouldn't be surprised if any of those, I could almost stretch it into 14 that I really wouldn't be surprised if they win the Stanley Cup. But all that being said, I all things being equal, if McDavid is fine, even if I was playing on the team, I would, let's see where we stand here, right? Let's see where we are. Let's see what's going to happen, because this might happen. There's a world that Draisaitl might be out too. Now we're not going to invite that, but what can we do? Because someone is going to have to step up. Everybody's going to have to step up in the lineup, right? And you're going to get a little glimpse at a few more minutes for some guys that are, and not necessarily everybody's going to play power play like him, but I just mean it'll trickle down to the whole team, and guys that have been working hard that should almost be rewarded as much as if you're the coach going, okay, how much extra can so-and-so take? We kind of know with guys like Fogle that have played up and that they've kind of been all around, but there are some guys, I don't know. I like Derek Ryan's last game. I thought that was pretty good. I thought he had a few quotes after that were pretty insightful as a player. I think, he summed up, I think it was last game. It could have been the game before when he was talking about the role of a fourth liner. And he said, you don't always get stats for the things that you do just to draw a penalty or to, carry momentum for the next shift. That's big, right? And it is big. So a little bit more ice time for guys like that isn't a bad thing going into the biggest time of the year.
Jason Gregor, Terry Ryan with you on Sports 1440. DVD will join us next on The Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. And Dylan Holloway, what do you expect from him? We'll find out next.
I got into
We roll through. Lovely Tuesday afternoon. Jason Gregor. Terry Ryan with you on Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube and Facebook. Hope you're having yourselves a wonderful day. It's time to go in the room now, brought to you by Next Gen Transportation. Heavy haul transport provider, 100% locally owned and operated, and a huge sponsor of numerous youth sports teams in Alberta. It's nextgentransportation.com. From NHL.com, beat writer for the Jets and the Oilers and the Canucks and the Flames. Derek Van Diest is going to join us momentarily. He's just getting things all set up. Quickly, hey guys, why would they bring up Holloway? Why not just play Carrick? Isn't it more beneficial to get your guys playing? It's an interesting question. I'll say this, Ed. I think it has to do with, you know what? They want Dylan Holloway to come in up here. He's playing well down there. You know, he offers a different element of speed. And you know what? They'll see. If you're going to use him in the playoffs, it's better to get him a few games down the stretch, right? I could easily see him going back to start the playoffs in the American League when their lineup's 100% healthy. Like, I think they like Janmark because he's very responsible. He kills penalties. He doesn't give up a lot of goals. And that's what the coach likes. I'm not sure that's necessarily Dylan Holloway's role. I think Dylan Holloway would be more of a top 9 forward on your team than a fourth line guy. We'll see. DVD, what do you make of Holloway? Obviously, with McDavid out, it's a no-brainer to bring up an extra body. But I see Dylan Holloway, if he's going to play on your team in the playoffs, he's probably in your top 9. I don't see him filling out the same role as Matthias Janmark and killing penalties and defensive starts and stuff like that.
No, I think he's a guy that they want some offense out of him. And I think he's a guy that can provide the offense if you got to put him in those situations. And I think he's not going to do that playing 4 minutes on the fourth line. I think he has to be a top 3. He's got to play on your top line, as you were saying. He's got to get some minutes. He's got to get into those situations, play with some offensive guys, some guys that can feed him the puck, get him the puck in good spots. So, yeah, I think this is a guy. This is the reason they brought him up, I think, instead of just inserting Carrick in. They need a guy in the top 9 that can play in that spot. Obviously, he's not going to fill McDavid's role, but he can help you, give you some offense, because I think with McDavid out, and he's obviously, I think he'll be out tomorrow, maybe out this weekend. I think you need that. You need offense by committee, and he's a guy that can help you provide it.
Yeah, the Oilers are going to be ultra cautious with McDavid. Why wouldn't you be? Like, there's a benefit, yes, to finishing first, but it's not mandatory, right? It's not like, oh my goodness, if the Oilers don't catch Vancouver, that they've ruined the season. So you're definitely not going to risk McDavid when you've got games in a short period of time anyway. Then you got the playoffs coming up. If he gets a week off and ends up missing a total of 3 games, I don't think it's that massive of an issue for the Oilers. They're pretty much cemented into second place at worst. So even if they tank here and lose all 3, which I don't expect, that they'd still be fine overall. When you look at this Vegas game tomorrow night, we saw them play in Vancouver last night, and Vegas is just, since March 1st, they've been giving up a lot of goals, right? I think they're like their 23rd in goals against in that time. This is not the Vegas team who won the Stanley Cup right now. And the last thing you want to do is give them any sort of belief. I think this is a pretty important game for the Oilers. A, you might play Vegas, but B, you want them to keep second guessing themselves down the stretch.
Yeah, you do. And I talked to Bruce Cassidy this morning, and he said that they just want to get in the playoffs right now. They're just limping into the playoffs. They've got so many guys out. This has been the same story with Vegas. They got injuries. They got to plug guys in. Aiden Hill is out. He may be back tomorrow. We're not sure. He was on the ice today. Petrangelo's out. Raw's out. Obviously, Stone's out. Carrier's out. Like they're walking wounded right now. And Cassidy says, hey, we can just get in the playoffs and get in and maybe get the band back together. Then we can kind of go from there. Wouldn't be surprised if Mark Stone suddenly shows up and he's healthy to go in the playoffs. Like, they're going to get some guys back here, but they just want to get in. And I think they'll be fine. I think they will get in. I think they got a big enough cushion on St. Louis. St. Louis is not catching them. So I think they'll get in, but they're just trying to get healthy right now. And I think that's the big issue for the Vegas Golden Knights. They're trying to get healthy. And once they get in the playoffs, then hopefully they get some guys back and they can make another run at it.
Derek, going into playoffs, do you think video review is in a good place?
Hey, Terry, pleasure to have you on. I really enjoy your stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, a video review as in like reviewing what, the goals or the
goals. Well, even the offsides. Like, I don't know. I just want to get your opinion because I get asked this question. I don't think it is. I think at some point real soon there's going to be a major goal that gets called back because offsides happened 3 minutes before.
Yeah.
And even I get the goals, why we have them, whether it's in or not. but even that gets foggy. But that question is dated. Like, what do you think? Going in with just because we've had so many delays lately, I think even the Oilers a few games ago had like 2 or 3 in the same period. Like, you know, do you think that's a healthy place to be in?
No, not really. And I'm with you. I hate the fact that they have to look at it offside and look at, okay, is this guy's toe ahead of this other guy's toe? Is this toe across the line? Was this 3 minutes ago they entered the zone offside? I agree with you. There's going to be a huge goal. People are going to celebrate. It's going to be a massive goal. And then there's going to be a review, and they're going to go, well, yeah, 2 minutes where they gained the zone. I think they might have gained the zone. A guy might have been slightly offside. Let's review that. I agree with you. And this offside review was put in because an offside was so obviously missed. It was missed by like 4 feet. The guy was so far. And then they said, oh, we have to change the entire system. You know, for the most part, I think linesmen get it right 90% of the time, 95% of the time. You know, if they miss an offside by this much, you know, that's part of the game. Mistakes are part of the game. I know players are allowed to make mistakes. Coaches are allowed to make mistakes, but God forbid a referee makes a mistake. You know, I like the other night, a referee made a mistake and they corrected it here in the Oiler game. But I think you're right, Terry, because it just takes away from the flow of the game. There's nothing worse than celebrating a goal and then 2 minutes later, oh, we have a challenge, and let the referees, and then they look at it for like 10 minutes. Like, figure it out. If you can't figure it, if it's not obvious, like 30 seconds or a minute into it, looking at it, then move on. It's not obvious. Like, I agree with you there, Terry. There's just too many. And then the goaltender interference. No one knows what goaltender interference is. Some guys, you know, this is goaltender interference. This is not goaltender interference. It's a judgment call all the way. So it just, it's just killing the flow of the game. And I agree with you, Terry.
I'm going to pass off another question that I got from my own podcast, Tales with TR. Okay. You were talking about, let's say, 2 Hart candidates, because there's a lot of them. And I think if the Penguins get in, honestly, I'm old school. I love what Crosby's doing. I know I'm the minority here, but I'm just looking at what he's doing, his body of work, getting the team in now. But that hasn't happened yet. If it came down to McDavid and Kucherov's 50 points ahead of the next player on his team, why would I give it to McDavid?
I think you're absolutely right, Terry. To be honest with you, it's the player judged to be most valuable to his team. You take Kucherov out of that lineup in Tampa. Tampa's nowhere near the playoffs. You take Crosby out of that lineup in Pittsburgh. They're nowhere near the playoffs. You know, you take McDavid out. They still got Hyman, Draisaitl. They still got a bunch of players. They probably still get in the playoffs. I think McDavid is the best player in the league by far. I have no question that. Is he the most valuable to his team? Considering what Crosby's done this year, like if Pittsburgh gets in, and Crosby keeps playing the way he's playing, I would probably vote for Crosby or Kucherov. Like, he kind of held that team together while they were kind of battling through injuries, getting to everything. I agree. It's the way the rule is, or the way the award is worded, most valuable player to your team. And I think those 2 guys are more valuable to their team than Connor McDavid is, just because of the surrounding cast that Connor McDavid has around. We'll see tomorrow when they play without Connor McDavid. We'll see whether the Oilers tank or whether they get by with him. But I think you take Kucherov out of that lineup in Tampa, you take Crosby out of the lineup in Pittsburgh, those teams aren't anywhere near a playoff race right now.
Yeah, I would mention some fun facts for you guys. Nathan McKinnon is plus 33 at 5-on-5. When he's not on the ice, Colorado was -8. Kucherov is +4 when he's on the ice. Crosby is +5. When Crosby's not on the ice, Pittsburgh's the exact same, +5. Now, without Kucherov, they're -26. And I know everybody points to Kucherov and being 50 points ahead of his next teammate, and that's fair. But did you know that the second, third, fourth, and fifth scores in Colorado have 289 points? The second, third, fourth, fifth scores in Tampa Bay have 303. So it is, yes, there's Rantanen, but then there's a massive gap after that compared to Tampa. Tampa has 4 guys over 70 points on top of Kucherov. I really think it's McKinnon and Kucherov. I wouldn't have Crosby even in the top 5. I'd have Panarin ahead of Crosby. Like, Crosby, yeah, you know, but he's +5 when he's on the ice. The team's +5 when he's not on the ice. So it's like, yeah, he's important, but he's not nearly as important as Nathan McKinnon. Like, Nathan McKinnon's carrying a team. Cale Makar's numbers, you actually look at Cale Makar's numbers away from Nathan McKinnon this year in Colorado, they're not very good at all, actually. It's kind of stunning when you look at it. I really think it's McKinnon and probably Kucherov, but Crosby, I don't even think he'd be in my top 5. If I'm being honest, I'd have Panarin, and I'd probably even have Matthews ahead of him. Matthews, when he's on the ice, is plus 32. When he's not, Toronto's plus 3. So pretty big.
Well, first off, I was told there would be no math at the debate. So throwing that in, but no, you're making good points there. Like that's the beauty of this award. It's not just the best player in the league, because then McDavid would win it every year. I give you McKinnon needs he needs to get some votes as well, and I think that's the beauty of being able to debate this. But to me, it's who do you take out of the lineup, and the team kind of goes bust. And I think right now, like you look at, I think Crosby would probably get a sentimental vote just because of what he's doing at his age, and everyone wants him to get in. Everyone wants him to have a last kick at the can type thing here. But what McKinnon is doing is unbelievable as well. Like he's really carrying that team. He's been able to do it all year as well. So yeah, there's a lot of good candidates there, and I think it's not cut and dry, maybe like it was last year.
Yeah, that's fair. DVD, you look at Vegas, and their coach said, hey, we just want to get the guys healthy. They got Thomas Hurdle. They don't have Pietrangelo. He's not on the trip. Aiden Hill, I don't know if they're going to play him or not tomorrow. I'd guess they might wait until later in the week. Better be safe than sorry. I'm not sure there's a massive gap between him and Thompson, but you look at the orders and Dylan Holloway, and kind of he's going to slot in with McLeod and Perry to start. Kane's going to go up with Henrique and Fogle, and then Draisaitl will take McDavid's spot with Hyman and Nugent Hopkins. Who do you think goes on the first unit power play though in place of McDavid? Not that they're going to do what McDavid does, but and I'll say mine first and tell me if you guys agree. The second unit basically has been Kane, McLeod, and Perry. I would just put Adam Henrique in McDavid's spot for a game or two. What would you guys do?
I can almost see Kane in that spot, and then Henrique in the second unit power play, because I think there's a couple of reasons I think Kane, because Kane he's been in that spot before when Draisaitl was out with a penalty, so they stuck him in that spot, and I think they really want to get him going. I think they're really trying to get Kane going, because I think they need Kane in the playoffs. They need the Evander Kane that kind of elevates his game, is a really hard player to play against, is a guy that's physical. So I think they really need to get Kane going. If you can get him going, throw him out on the power play there. If he can get some passes from Draisaitl, or he can get some chances to bang the puck in front of the net on the power play, I think that's a good opportunity there. Henrique, you know what you're going to get with Henrique, and you're going to get a good quality veteran coming in there. But to me, my thinking is that Evander Kane will probably take over that spot.
I'd go Kane because he tends to get from afar. It seems that he gets a bit pouty, and I think he could play with his confidence if he. Yeah, I think it'll be, put it this way, rather than look at it from a negative point of view, I think if you put him there, it'd be great for his confidence, and maybe he gets a goal or two. And he had that stretch, which is obvious. But Henrique, I just think is prepared to do whatever it takes. And you need to really stroke Kane the right way. And this would be a time that the opportunity presents itself to do so.
I agree 100% with you, Terry. And you're absolutely right about that. It's you gotta, when you're a coach, you gotta have to kind of, who the guys that you kick in the butt, and you're the guys that you had to pat on the back. And I think Kane's a guy that you got to pat on the back to kind of get him going.
DVD, thanks for this, my man. Have yourself a great day. We will chat with you next Tuesday.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on. Nice to meet you, Terry.
Nice to meet you, buddy.
There you go. That's Derek Van Dies from NHL.com. Joins us every Tuesday. We'll come back. We got Ryan's rant coming up. Also, we'll hear from Struddy and Speck a little bit later on in the show. Also, we're going to have Ken Reed joining us and more. It's the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, live on Sports 1440, Orders Nation, YouTube, and Facebook.
Hi, Brad McCory here. Don't miss our
Oh, such a great song. Oh, Lone Oak, sick voice too. Real good, deep. I like it. Great, Jason Gregor. Terry and Ryan with you on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation YouTube and Facebook. Some of you watching live on Twitter, streaming it at sports1440.ca. I know some people are listening on the app, and there's a national issue on the app. So if it's cutting in and out on you, the tune-in one seems to be the most reliable right now. If you want to try that one, but YouTube channel's great, and our Facebook feed, and of course Sports 1440 not cutting in. So there you go, or out, I should say. That's good. We do have loads and loads of text coming in, 833-401-1440, and a lot of people yes confirming it was indeed rebar on White Ave. Very unique place to go. Had quite a bit of fun in there. So basically it's like it had black lighting, so you couldn't hide much in there, tell you that for sure. Definitely if you had a fake tooth, it would
like old wood tooth.
Oh, wood tooth, exactly. Yeah, couldn't get anything by the onion down there. It was great. We have quite a few other texts coming in and questions. I want to get your thoughts, TR, on a few other things. The Jays early on this season. I know you're a big baseball guy. You like watching the Jays, but it's like feast or famine with them. They either win big or they lose big. I know there's been the odd like 2-1 game and stuff like that, but man, there's been a lot of lopsided matches. Early on for the Jays, they were very good. And, Barrios has been unreal in his 3 starts so far this season. But do you get into baseball early, or does it take you a while? Or do you get into it early and then fade and then kind of reacquaint yourself later in the season?
I tend to follow the Yankees and Jays because my dad's a big Yankees fan. So that's inevitable. Like by osmosis growing up, I knew a lot about them. And I follow the Jays, and then I'll get into it all. I mean, I watch highlights, but as the year goes on, because I find baseball, like, it's so streaky. That's why I'm not worried at the beginning of the year. I don't think they're a playoff team. I thought that going in. I think they need more than just a player. But that's a side note. I think they'll be okay. I think guys like Bichette, Guerrero, Springer, like, these guys at some point are going to even themselves out. They're great players in the primes of their career. And, guys like Justin Turner will probably be icing on the cake. A little bit of a bonus if they play well. It was a little bit opposite of that early on in the year, but I'm not worried about it. What I'm worried about is like guys like Alek Manoah, who seems like he just lost his game. Usually that happens. And I've looked like historically, usually that might happen to a young guy like that, like after an injury. But this guy, I was talking with my dad today. Remember Rick Ankiel? Can you remember that guy?
Yes.
Great pitcher, and then all of a sudden he just lost it. And in one game, he threw like 7 wild pitches, and he couldn't do it. He just couldn't do it anymore. But he went out in the outfield, and he ended up being like a 21 or 22 home run hitter. I can't remember, but I followed him pretty closely, believe it or not. So that sort of stuff, is Manoah, is that going to happen? No, it's not. That he's going to become a great batter or outfielder. But I just, like, that to me is alarming. There's nothing else around the Jays right now I find that's alarming. Even if a great player has even 10 games, it's a very, very streaky sport. It's a game of inches if there ever was. I think they say that about every sport at some point. When it comes to baseball, guys like that are not doing well now, and vice versa. It's such a long season, and every at-bat, and to get comfortable, and, you go in streaks. That's the nature of the brain when you're hitting a fastball and a curveball, and there's so many changes. I'm not really worried about the best players. I'm just not sold that the Jays are a playoff team.
I want to get back to the orders, and McDavid. I'm like everything I've been told. I'm not concerned that he's not going to be ready for the playoffs. So I'll just put that as a caveat. They might miss a few games, but since Chris Knobloch took over, the Oilers are the best team in the NHL, and they're the best team in the NHL, Terry, by a ways. Like they're the only team with a points percentage above 700. They're at 730. No one else is above 695. They're third in goals for. They're fourth in goals against. Their power play is top 5. Their penalty kill, I think, is 10th or 11th. Goaltending numbers are quite good. Like, I view Edmonton as the best team in the Pacific Division. Like, I don't really care what Vegas did last year. I'm focused on it right now. And, Vancouver, I think, is good. By being the best team doesn't mean like they're dominant, but I think they're the best team in the Pacific Division. I think, if I had to pick today, I'm picking Edmonton and Dallas to be the 2 teams in the Western Conference Final. Where do you view the Oilers? Do you still have questions about them, or do you believe that they're just a flat out good team?
I think they're a flat out great team. I'm not kidding. I'm not saying it because I'm on the Edmonton radio. I got them to win the cup. I did at the beginning of the year. I think they're growing. The year started so oddly, but like you said, those whatever stats you rattle off doesn't surprise me. I know, like, because even when they were in their slump, the analytics said they were going to come out of it at some point. Not that I'm a huge analytics guy, and I'll get more into that in a second if I could, because there's always two ways to look at things. Here, might as well. It's only going to take a second, but beginning of the year, I remember when they lost whatever. Let's just say 10 of the first 12. I don't really remember, but it was something outrageous like that.
Yeah, they were 2-9-1.
Yeah, okay, and they lost to San Jose, I think, in there at the beginning when San Jose was like awful and only had like 7 goals scored. So, and I remember every radio, every sports, I should say, outlet that focused on hockey was saying, well, 95% of the time when teams start like this, they're not going to make the playoffs. So that's one analytic. The other one is that each game it was going like, wow, like they can't lose again. They just had 50 shots. The other team had 10. All the analytics in the individual games were saying, this cannot possibly go on any longer, coach or no coach. Love Knobloch, but I didn't mind the other setup either. But my God, what was his name again?
Woodcroft.
My God, Woodtooth's in my head. So, I just think at some point that bubble was going to burst, right? It had to. So there's always, with every analytic, right? There's two ways to look at each and every version of that. So, there is something to be said about the eye test, right? People don't believe that anymore. Well, that was an eye test. The Oilers from game 1 to game 10, that was your eye test. Analytically, they've been phenomenal ever since. So add the two together, especially, I think it's not easy, the division they're in. I'm not worried at all about Vegas, to be honest with you, if I'm the Oilers and I'm healthy. And I just see they're as good as anybody else, but they got two of the best players on the planet who are hungry and in their prime. And that's why I didn't want to vote against or bet against Crosby 5-6 years ago and beyond. I didn't want to bet against Mario Lemieux back in the day. I didn't want to bet against Wayne Gretzky. I don't care what support cast any of them had. So did other teams had good teams. And it seems to me the best in every sport. I don't know if it's Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan. We've had some great athletes in it, or Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady. When the best, and all those sports got 32 teams or whatever as well. And with Tiger Woods, when he was in his prime, I mean, golf is even lesser odds, but they find a way to do it. So I'm looking at it now with the most parity that I've seen in years, and I really mean that. You can tell me 10 teams, and either one of them, I wouldn't be surprised if they win the cup. But I know that Edmonton has Connor McDavid, and Edmonton have Leon Draisaitl. And to me, that's the difference maker.
Yeah. And it is fair, right? Like, because if the teams are that even, then you look and say, okay, well, what's going to be the difference maker at a key time? And especially because the playoffs are so much different, because now it's a 2-week battle against the exact same team every night, right? And so matchups become more of a challenge. And I think we've seen sometimes where, a coach will get a matchup that he likes. Like last year, I thought Jay Woodcroft aired in the Vegas series by not playing McDavid against Jack Eichel. Jack Eichel was beating up on the other line. So put McDavid out there. Like, I didn't understand why they didn't try, especially on home ice. Like, I get why you maybe don't get it in Vegas, but if you really want to match up, you can get it. And I understand that, you're like, hey, we don't want to disrupt things too much. But when the other guy was dominating your other lines, at some point you look and say, okay, wait a sec. I'm going to put my best guy out there because I think my best guy is going to beat him. So now I'm going to neutralize him. So I thought that was a mistake that they made. Now, the players didn't play as well as you would like either. I totally understand that. But I thought that was a tactical maneuver that was an error. Right. And so in a 7-game series like that, coaching, I think coaching is probably arguably at times more important in the playoffs, Terry, than it can be in the regular season. Because in the regular season, you're playing different teams all the time. You kind of worry more about you than you do the opposition. But in the postseason, you have to worry about the opposition because it's the same opposition all the time. And then you want to try to find what their weakness is and exploit it.
I totally agree with you. I've often said, when these teams squeak into the playoffs, even the first year that Crosby and the boys won it, I know Michel Therrien, I paid attention, not that I don't like that guy, and he got fired in like January or February, and they went on to win the cup. They turned it all around. And so when you get into the playoffs and people say, well, they snuck in and Crosby got the MVP, and I love Crosby and I love Malkin, who's I just looked at. Malkin's leading the NHL in takeaways. It's a pretty good stat no one talks about. It's also coaching. Like you said, it's one team at a time. It becomes a duel of coaches. And it's such a unique thing that you don't, a lot of people don't really notice is one thing, but definitely don't emphasize. And I think it's one of the biggest parts of the pie. The other thing, if I'm an Oiler fan, that would give me a little bit of ease going, it's never easy going to the playoffs, but as opposed to, say, Toronto, because we talk about Edmonton being led by Draisaitl and McDavid, even though they've never really gone on to major success in the playoffs. But I remember Draisaitl, didn't he play injured and they get like 5 points in 3 games or more? And McDavid, it's never really been his fault that they lost. But if I'm Toronto, I'm still kind of tiptoeing around, right? I don't really know. These guys are, and people are having mammoth years, and I love watching both teams. If Toronto win, I got a good friend, Dave Roper, that's going to get a Stanley Cup ring. He's equipment manager. I love ropes, and I'm not saying it in any way to, for all the Leafs fans out there to, I'm not trying to rain on that parade like everybody does all the time, and I'm not trying to beat that dead horse. But it is obvious, if I'm a fan of both teams which have so many similarities, that of the teams, our side has players that have already proven themselves, and now they're going in on momentum. Like if I'm Draisaitl and McDavid, I almost feel a sense of momentum going into this year's playoffs. We lost, we nearly did it, and we're more ready than ever, and we just were the best team since that slump by far, right? I'm really feeling a sense of momentum. And if I'm other teams, I guess it would change team to team, but the biggest sense of momentum for me would be the Edmonton Oilers and the possible improvement on their playoff luck.
Jason Gregor, Terry Ryan with you. 833-401-1440. 833-401-1440. We'll get your thoughts on that. We'll come back. Ken Reed will join us. Also, we'll get to Ryan's rant, 5 questions, Spec and Struddy on a busy Tuesday afternoon on Sports 1440. Let's get to a sports update brought to you by Fountain Tire. They are more than just tires. They offer a wide range of auto repair and services from their expert mechanics. Go to fountaintire.com and learn more.
The Sports 1440 update.
Connor McDavid did not practice today for the Edmonton Oilers. Coach Knobloch saying he would consult with the center on Wednesday ahead of their home matchup against the Vegas Golden Knights. Coach listed McDavid's status as day-to-day. Of course, Connor McDavid entering today's action with 130 points, including a league-high 99 assists. The Oilers also recalled forward Dylan Holloway from the Bakersfield Condors. Holloway played 18 games down in the AHL, recording 10 goals and 6 helpers. On the ice tonight, busy schedule. You got the Hurricanes in Boston, Canadians host the Flyers, Red Wings up against the Capitals, the Jackets in Tampa, Panthers host the Sens, Maple Leafs in Jersey, Battle of New York between the Rangers and the Islanders. Winnipeg travels to Nashville. Stars host the Sabres. Kings up against the Ducks. Avalanche host the Wild. Coyotes in Seattle, and the Sharks take on the Flames. Off the ice, New Jersey Devils announcing that Jack Hughes will undergo shoulder surgery tomorrow. He's expected to make a full recovery in time for training camp in September in his 5th full season, finishing with 27 goals, 47 assists in 62 games played. In the association, the Toronto Raptors are in action hosting the Pacers. Tip-off just after 5 o'clock in that one. We've also got the Hornets hosting the Mavericks, Pistons in Philadelphia, Hawks host the Heat, Celtics take on the Bucks, Grizz welcome the Spurs to turn to town, and it's the Thunder taking on the Sacramento Kings. Major League Baseball, Blue Jays back in action hosting the Mariners in Toronto. This one gets going at 5:07. 2 finals from earlier today. So the Tigers get past the Pirates 5-3, and the Orioles drop the Red Sox 7-1. We've got a Game 7 in the AJ tonight as Whitecourt hosts Canmore. Puck drop 7 o'clock at JDA Place in Whitecourt. And from the CFL, the Edmonton Elks making some moves today, signing wide receiver Hergeet Mayala and offensive lineman Shane Richards and Hunter Stewart. Richards was the number 1 overall pick back in the 2019 CFL draft. Mayala was the 8th overall pick in that same draft, and Stewart is entering his 10th CFL season. He was also a former first-round pick. Coming up in hour 3 of the Jason Gregor Show, we will be joined by Ken Reed of Sportsnet. We'll hear Ryan's rant, and it's another edition of 5 Questions. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
20 or just after 4 o'clock, excuse me. It's Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. How are you? Reminder, it's a terrific Tuesday. Use the 40 Tuesday, 40 Tuesday. You get 40% off at Papa John's. Big shout out to Papa John's serving lots of pizza today for the grads. We had another big fitting day for Gregor's grads. 52 grads we fitted today. So halfway through 2 Tuesdays. So we got 2 more this month. So thanks everyone who's supported us throughout it. Lots of smiling young grads today. You always surprise them when they show up. They don't know they're going to get their suit to keep. They just think it's a rental. So it's a big surprise when they know after it's all said and done, it's theirs to keep. So tailored, fitted for them. It's a lot of fun. The Gregor Show is always presented by PlayAlberta.ca. And hey, if you want some luck, feel lucky today. How about 60 million? Lotto Max and 6 Max Million. So get yours today at PlayAlberta.ca. And we get to our big guest today, brought to you by the Spruce Grove Saints, and it's getting closer. The BCLHL playoffs begin tomorrow. Saints are on the road, but then they're home Thursday night. Get your seats, get your tickets. Should be a doozy of a game. I love playoffs, baby. So fun. Connor was mentioning the Game 7 earlier, but you got Saints first home game of the postseason on Thursday. Get your tickets. Saints office. As talk some hockey and some baseball and a few more other things. Ken Reed from Sportsnet joins us. Also, multiple-time author. Him and TR. They're having an internal competition to see who can write the most books. The Reader, how you doing?
Good, boys. Love me some Spruce Grove Saints. Fantastic logo. Of course, modeled after the Minnesota Fighting Saints, who I'd like to point out were led by shorthanded goals in 72-73, 6 from TR Senior.
Yes.
There you go. The hockey card king comes through again.
I love it. If you had to pick, because I know you're a big hockey card guy, like, do you have like a favorite obscure hockey card?
You know what? That's a great question. Yeah, I got a lot of them. A lot of them were in the first book I did. I always loved Mike Liut's 81-82, or pardon me, 80-81 O-Pee-Chee, and John Davidson's 80-81 O-Pee-Chee. Davidson's looks exactly like that, the photo of the crease. Like you swear you're looking at that piece of art. There's a Kevin Morrison All-Star from the WHA that I'm sure a lot of old school Alberta Oilers fans might remember. Kevin, he played for the San Diego Mariners. There's so many of them. There was one I did, a card of Brian Maxwell from the 76-77 O-Pee-Chee WHA set. And he said, That's not me on the card. And I said, well, who is it? He said, I don't know. It took me about 5 years to find out who the guy was because no one knew it. Turns out the guy's a gym teacher in Chagrin Falls, Ohio, and he didn't know he had a hockey card for 50 years till I called him up one day. So there's all kinds of awesome obscure cards.
So they had a picture of a guy who didn't even play in the league?
Correct. So Brian Maxwell had a card from his days in the WHA, and he was with the Cincinnati Stingers, but he had been traded, so they airbrushed just this white uniform. It looked like the sheet the Mormons would use back in the day, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes, yeah.
Salt Lake Soakers. So Brian, I talked to him about this card. He said, it's not me. And I said, well, who is it? Because, there's been a lot of hockey air cards over the days. And usually, it's like
teammate.
Bob Gainey's on a Mario Tremblay. Doug Wickenheiser's on a Mario Tremblay card, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know who it is. So, well, it's a teammate. And I ended up calling Ron Plum, who played in the WHA, because people thought it was him. It's not me. And during COVID, I did a follow-up because in the book it said, I don't know who this is. If you know, please let me know. And during COVID, I had time. So I hit researching and got going. It turns out it was a guy. His last name was Bradley. He played at Bowling Green University.
Okay.
And one year he had a WHA tryout, and his photo was taken with everybody else, right? It went into the files, and somehow it ended up being labeled as Brian Maxwell.
Oh.
And it ended up on a hockey card, and this guy had no clue he was on a hockey card until I found it out, like 40 years later. And it's funny, now he gets them in the mail to sign. And Keith Olbermann, I'll name drop, Keith Olbermann actually said, you have his address, I'd love to send him one. So I gave Keith the address, and Keith got 2 signed and send one to me. So yeah, and it's a perfect card to get autographed because it's just a big white canvas. So
Wow.
that's maybe my favorite
Yeah.
obscure hockey card story.
Oh, that's outstanding. I love it. So look at old Ken Reed, the sleuth. So that's fantastic. So that's good.
As far as my investigative reporting skills go, Gregor.
Yeah, well, you know what? That almost matches me when I tracked down the girl that didn't show up on the train for Struddy. And then many years later, I tracked her down. We got her on the show. That's probably my favorite sleuth job of all time.
Wow.
Yeah. So that
Struddy was stood up.
Oh yeah, dude. You know what? Struddy's coming on later today. I don't know if he wants to relive that tale. So yeah, he'd met a girl, and then back in the day, like there's no cell phones or whatever, right? And called,
Right.
he's standing at the train station, got flowers, no one shows up. So yeah, it was.
I mean,
it was a tough
I
one.
think if The Bachelor was around when Struddy played,
he'd have been on it for sure.
He was rock hard handsome. He was just a handsome devil. The jaw, the hair, everything.
God, he
He
would
had
have
it all. He was a 90s poster boy.
He's pretty funny, dude. He would have loved it. The problem was, I think he would have fell in love with every girl on the show. That would have been his problem. So it would have been very hard.
Right.
He's very romantic.
Yeah. Well, when you're wealthy, you can spread it around.
I guess so. Maybe. Ken, let's talk a few things in the NHL. It looks like Toronto's going to get Florida. There's no really easy first round matchups by any stretch of the imagination. The Panthers are a little bit banged up though, so I guess if this is ever the time to get them, it might be now because they got a lot of banged up guys.
They do. I think it's a big might though. I'd say Florida in 6. It's funny that the debate here is are they going to start Reeves in the playoffs? I'm like, you'd be a fool if you didn't. I mean, this one thing this team's been lacking is a physical presence forever.
Yeah.
But I think if you just look at that core that this is built around, I mean, the last game they had against Florida was a 6-4 win for the Leafs, and they were so in control, and then they just got loose, and the game, it ended up tight. And when I just look at this Leafs team, it's everything that I think playoff success is not built on again. And I don't think it's Treliving's team yet. I think it's still a Dubas team.
Okay.
And I think till Treliving really gets his hands into this and tries to change it, it might remain the same. If I were to predict, I would say Florida will take it just because I think Florida can play man up, greasy hockey in the playoffs, even though they're banged up. I think that obviously they know what it takes based on last year, but that's the question is are they too banged up? Are they too tired? Is that hangover going to be in place from last year? But if I'm looking at it, I say it's Florida's series to lose.
Killer, first of all, what's with the cartoon on your cover photo on Twitter? You know who does that? People are getting older and they want a cartoon avatar. You still look pretty good.
I have a cartoon avatar? I thought the cartoon that my avatar was me and Ravine.
Well, I'm saying that people who get older, your cover photo on Twitter is you and, oh my God, Ivanka on the desk there.
Yeah.
A cartoon.
Oh, in the background. Oh, that thing's old as dirt. I got that like 10, 11 years ago. So I was way ahead of trying to look cool. I was already cool. So that's hung over that. That's
That
like
Adam C team.
Bell bottoms in your closet.
that ad, when I came across it yesterday, I saw an Adam C team from Pictou. How did that team? And you were Kenny Reed when did Kenny turn into Ken?
Ken Reed turned into Ken. I started going by Ken in grade 12 because that's when I was serious about becoming a broadcaster. And I thought Kenny sounds too young. But what I should have done was use my middle name and kept the first name the same. And then it would have been Kenny Alexander. I think that's a great broadcaster name.
It certainly is. Now Kenny Alexander. Well,
Yeah.
What's going on? Alec Manoah, does he play one game for the Jays this year? He just forgot how to pitch. No injury. No, he just forgot how to pitch.
Boy, it's funny, all the talk about arm injuries and the pitch clock. And my immediate observation from Alec Manoah last year was he showed up way overweight, out of shape, and he couldn't adjust to the pitch clock because the season before he was one of the pitchers who took the longest time in between pitches.
Yeah,
So when you get in deep in an inning and you got to recover every 20 seconds, that's going to take a toll on you. Now this year, he came in way better shape, but was it muscular shape or did he just lose stuff? Because you guys know you're a couple athletes. You can lose a lot of weight, but you can still be weaker. You can be weaker, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if he is, man. He'll get back up. And he was horrible the other day in Dunedin. But again, the baseball folks will tell you it's a process. I really hope he does. It's hard to root against the guy. He's so passionate about the game, and he's a very likable guy. I really, really hope he does. I don't think he will. I'll be honest with you. I don't think he will. I think he's kind of like a lot of young players in the game. I guess you could say Manoah was maybe rushed along because he didn't spend a lot of time in the minors as opposed to other guys who were babied all the way through. But in a way, I think Manoah's kind of a poster boy for what's going on with pitching in the bigs now, because guys they're just not lasting. And I mean, like you look at the injuries in pitching just right now. It's DeGrom's out, Robbie Ray's out. You name a pitcher with any kind of pedigree, and he's out. And I mean, for Manoah, last year was just a complete and total disaster. So I think it might be as much between the ears as it is mechanics at this point with him.
Mechanics, I know there's a lot of, some of them don't like the balls now, and they feel like that's an issue, and it's harder to grip it and stick them and everything like that. So it is fascinating. There, there's been some guys have been vocal about it for many years, and no one really listened. It seems like now they're finally starting to listen, and it might take them a while to rectify the problems. Well, hey, what did you make of, man, on TV? It sure looked quite different. I don't know if you've been inside the new stadium, but man, like it looks totally revamped. Like they put a lot of work into the stadium.
They did. I'm going tomorrow for the first time. Last year the rentals were awesome. This year my son's like getting fly balls during BP down the lines, and they have netting everywhere now, and that was been the case. But they made the walls at the end of the right and left field lines a lot higher, so they used to like to hang around and try to get ground balls. That'll be tougher on them. But I would say the Renos look cool. It looks like a ballpark. But I will say this, my favorite thing about baseball has always been how accessible it is to a fan, how a fan can kind of reach over and give a high five, and you can sit right next to the field. And if you watch games on Yankee Stadium, I think it takes a little kind of clever maneuvering to get down behind the plate. So I think the old class system may be in place for, you pay to go where you want to go. Was in baseball in the past, you could just kind of wander around the park. So I hope when you go tomorrow that you're still allowed to wander down by the expensive seats. Now, when the game comes, of course, you have to sit in your seat. But I hope that the ballpark is still open like what I think baseball should be. The best thing for a lot of kids going to NHL game is they all go down by the glass now. They let them do that. So I hope that they're still going to let fans wander where they want to, at least until the game starts, because that's always been one of my favorite things about baseball. That's one of the things that got me hooked as a kid, was you could go down and reach over for an autograph or try to get a baseball. So I hope that's still the case, because I know in some parks it's not quite as fair and friendly as it used to be.
And Ken, one last one for you. When you look across the country, and Ottawa and Montreal and Calgary are out, you got they're going to be the 4 Canadian teams going in: Vancouver, Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Toronto. Where do you come out on the Canucks and the Jets heading into the postseason?
Well, the Jets could face who?
Colorado.
Dallas, they might match up?
No, Colorado.
That's tough. That's tough. Oh, man, there's no easy matchups. So, it's so hard to predict. Hellebuck, I mean, that's your savior right there, I think, in Winnipeg. With Vancouver, they better get Thatcher Demko in order, or that might not work out. Like, if you went back to January, February and asked me, I'd say Vancouver all the way, but Demko's not, I assume he's going to be ready for the playoffs. That's what I've heard. But I don't know, man. I hate to say I like the Oilers because I'm on an Edmonton station, but I like the Oilers out of the West. So I'll say it. And I talked to somebody today on the phone who knows a lot more about the game than I did. Has been around the game for a long time, and he thinks this could be Edmonton's year. So I have a hard time disagreeing with the man whose opinion I seeked out today. And it was not the opinion of Terry Ryan Sr., just to put it out there, but it was a highfalutin guy who's been around the game for a while, and he thinks this could be Edmonton's year. So I might as well suck up to the local fans who are listening. So I'll take Edmonton over Winnipeg or Vancouver right now.
Yeah, like I don't think that's a real out on a limb pick, considering they've been the best team in the NHL since November 15th.
Yeah, but like I said, nothing's really easy, even in the first round. Yeah. By the way, they got to go back to 1 versus 8. Like, you need a reward for finishing in a league of parity. You need at least some sort of reward for finishing first in your conference, please. So, but I like Edmonton. I like what they've done. I like the changes they've made, and I like that they just kind of got it going right now. But the East is fun because if Pittsburgh gets in, who's been hotter than them, right? Like, it's about getting hot at the right time.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. Kenny, good stuff. Great card story. I love that. That's unbelievable that the guy now who's card,
Crazy.
it's got a Brian Maxwell card and he's just a random teacher and he signs it. That's amazing.
He's a phys ed teacher. The story's up on YouTube, actually, if you go on YouTube and just put in Ken Reed hockey cards. And also, baseball trivia note, Gregor.
Yeah.
Harry Ryan once received a hitting lesson from Ted Williams.
What?
True story. Yeah. I got a picture of that somewhere.
Yeah, that's
I'll tell the story one day on my rant, Gregor.
Okay, well, I look forward to that. Ooh, nice.
Yeah, because I like some old school baseball. Put the ball in play, right? None of this sit back, wait for a home run crap.
Yeah, well, Teddy knew what he was doing, hitting 400. Not bad. Not bad at all.
He sure did.
Yeah.
Swing on an even plane, right, TR?
What's that?
I said swing on an even plane, straight across the plate, right, buddy?
You got it. I remember what he said. I was there one of those days. I was there. He came here to do fishing a lot, and he used to go down to the ballpark. And my dad and a bunch of my dad's buddies, and my dad is in the local, the Newfoundland and Labrador Baseball Hall of Fame. Dad played a lot of baseball. I don't think he thought he was going to meet Ted Williams, but I remember Ted saying to me, he said, the longer the lever, the more power generated. I remember him saying that, and he had this big, long bat. And, well, in more ways than one, Teddy Hitchcock could probably tell you the same story, but not from the plate. Yeah. But anyway, the longer the lever, the more power generated. I'll never forget that. Ted Williams told me that one day, and I remember him taking us through a swing. He even hit a few fastballs well over the fence down to St. Pat's Ballpark.
Wow. I think the coolest part of the whole thing was how when Ted Williams, the coolest part of the whole thing was when Ted Williams left, he asked Senior to sign a baseball for him.
Awesome. Kenny, great stuff, man. We appreciate it. Have a great day.
Love talking to you guys. Take care.
See you, brother.
You're listening to the Jason Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. If you gamble, use your...
Con's computer is really outsmarting him a lot of times here. We're going to have to start it. It's like me on the TSN fine. We might have to get a fine for that.
Too much caffeine.
Yeah, might have to. 4:22, we'll come back. Ryan's rant. Will it be on Teddy Williams? Maybe not, but he's got something else up his sleeve. That's coming up next on The Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, coming in live in the EWEL studio, EWEL.ca.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is the #1 heating and cooling company for people who want heat.
For you on a Tuesday afternoon. Welcome back. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, live in the Ewell studio, EWEL, for all your electrical needs. When you combine electric and sports, a little spark to you. And great news when you go in shopping, you maybe need some help in your project, or you're just looking for some electrical products. Well, they always have Sports 1440 all the time in the studio, in their showroom at ewel.ca. You should go check out their brand new showroom. It's unreal off of 184th Street on the West End. Fantastic. It's time now for Ryan's Rant, brought to you by Action Electrical. And starting next week, your opportunity to win an installed solar system for your home on your roof. Now, we'll have it up on Thursday, the rules and everything like that. And so make sure you can qualify, but we'll start qualifying people on Monday. And somebody is going to win a package that's valued at over $15,000. That's just for the installation. Never mind all the money it's going to save you from having an elite solar package, courtesy of actionelectrical.net. Here's Ryan's Rant.
Speaking of solar systems, okay, yesterday I went to see the eclipse. The line of totality was just outside St. John's, maybe 30, 40 minutes. So we drove about an hour.
Did you have the special glasses?
Yeah, well, I didn't. I tried to get them everywhere, but when we got out there, other people did. And I was going to take my daughter, and she wanted to go to soccer practice, fine. So I ended up driving out there with my ex-wife, Danielle. We had a nice little, it was her birthday last week. We got a bite to eat. Like, I don't say that in any facetious way. Like, we hang out here and there, not romantically, but we're friends. So I said, you know what, it would be a bit of fun. We drove out. I was going to make this about the Devils Rangers, by the way. I wanted to. I really did. So for you hockey fans that don't want to hear about the solar system or anything else, I'm sorry, but I feel I have to say this. I have to say it. So, and I know there was everything was reported from, what's going to happen. And, I know that in Ontario, a lot of people had their schools off. And I heard other people on the radio that probably thought that was a bit much. In Ontario, guys, it was because there was 3 million people going to Niagara Falls. It was chaos. I think the people got the day off of school as much. It was something different as it was like there was a lot of traffic. It was going to be dark right at the time schools got out. I mean, it wouldn't be me, but it's not outlandish. I don't think it was some left-wing political power play. I think it was just okay because the schools weren't out here. We were in the path of totality. It went all across. Where the schools were out mainly was in Ontario, which again makes sense to me. You're adding 3 million people to an area that doesn't have that many people in the first place. It might be a little bit much. Now, anyway, outside of that, we go out. And I respect it. I'm into. I couldn't take physics in school. I'm not good at math, but I'm interested in everything that makes us tick, from our bodies to gravity itself, to the planets, the solar system, and everything else. What I started to hear, though, I'm listening to. So everybody was talking about it. All the radio shows. I listen to a lot of podcasts, not all to do with hockey or sports either. Like a lot, especially on days that I'm traveling a lot. I was down, like I said, in Halifax and Binghamton, so I'm listening to the radio constantly, podcasts. I didn't listen to one, man, from Overdrive to Jeff Merrick to Smartless, the things that have nothing to do with sports or the eclipse or whatever. They were just commenting on something that was major that was going to happen. Now, whether you're into it or not, I don't really care. I suppose some people are. I thought it was pretty cool. We're right next to the path of totality. I might as well drive a few minutes, right? You look at how much of the earth is actually covered. It's not a lot, a very, very small portion. So I went. I'm into science, fine. If you're not, all right. But educate yourselves. I was appalled as a human. People like on major shows, I don't want to say it, this morning, and they're getting on, they're talking about it. And the one guy, I'm listening and he goes, what? So he goes, it's supposed to be a big deal. He said, and his co-host said, well, it's going to happen again in 50 years. And then after that, 2144, it's a long time. And he said, well, I didn't realize it took so long. He said, for the moon to go around the sun like that. And I went, oh my God, I don't want to say who it was. I'm going, you're willing to say out loud that you think the moon is going around the sun? And you think that it happens once every 50 years so that The moon will come, like, he's not taking into account how much space is out there, even in the night sky. The moon every day goes in front of the sun. My God, know your world that you live in. It just doesn't go exactly like that. For those that don't know, the sun is 400 times more wide than the moon, and 60 million of the moon could fit in the sun. 60 million of them. So it just so happens, right, that the sun is the center of our solar system. For those that don't know, all the planets go around the sun. The moons of the planets go around those planets. My God, Jupiter has 13 moons. I don't expect you to know that, but know about the moon that we're looking is way smaller than any planet or star for that matter. And it's so close to the Earth that the dimensions, it's an optical illusion, right? I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. People were so far off base. I said, like, the sun is the center of our solar system, which is in a galaxy, which is the Milky Way, which is in a cluster, and there's billions of solar systems just in the Milky Way. And if you don't know that, and look, some people don't because they're ignorant, some people don't because they're not educated, some people don't because they're religious. But I would say this, like, I get it. I'm not anti-religious. I do think this day and age, look, I grew up a Catholic, but I don't really look at Noah's Ark and really think that Noah took 2 of every little thing. I mean, there's 150,000 species of spider. Just think about it. So anyway, but I can't get mad if it's religion. I'm just saying, we have to live in a shared reality as humans. No wonder there's so much political divide and discourse out there. People don't even understand that the moon revolves around the Earth, and the Earth revolves around the sun. My God, Galileo would roll over in his grave. He did that for all of us. And every scientist that leaves us with information, we're just conduits. We're just living life. We're out talking about hockey because it's something fun. We're not advancing the ball when it comes to, like, education to future humans, other than if they want to know how many points a certain player gets, or like the history of the NHL was a fun little game back in the 2000s. But my God, if you don't know the basic reasons that we're here, and you don't know that the universe is based on gravity, go out, watch a 5-minute YouTube clip. For God's sakes, it doesn't take reading an Encyclopedia Britannica. Know why we're here. Good God, I could not believe what I was listening to, from major sports shows right across the world to major talk shows. People are on there willing to flap their lips about something they know nothing about. I was just appalled that we don't all at least have a better knowledge of how lucky we are to be here and why the world goes round, literally. Anyway, I thought I'd say that because it's embarrassing if you're a human living in the society that we're living in and you don't know that. Unless you're a flat earther and you just flat out know about it, but you think it's some conspiracy, then that's another problem. But anyway, go read a book or watch a YouTube clip if you didn't know that the moon goes around the Earth.
TR, were you tempted to call into this program?
I was.
That would have been unbelievable.
When it happened, when the second time I heard it, I pulled over. I was close to Whitburn, and I said, I might as well pull in here now because I might go off the road. I couldn't believe the things that were coming out that people were saying. And almost like most of the people, I'm talking like a dozen, but one on a radio show here anyway, people weren't taking into account where the sun and the moon were in the sky, and what, like, the sun is static and the moon is good. They weren't thinking about it. They were thinking, well, every time the moon passes in front, that's going to happen. So it's going to happen every 50 years. I mean, I don't know. Just Google Earth. Just watch it for 5 minutes and you'll understand. My God, I just couldn't believe it. It was funny and it was actually scary. And I'm like, here we are. Like I've often said, one of the last things Stephen Hawking said in one of those papers, I don't read all the papers, but I read Time magazine. And he said, back in the day when Alexander of Alexandria, a major player in history, I think it was right around maybe 200 AD, or I think it was AD. But, this guy had a library and he wanted a library for the people, and knowledge, and, knowledge is power came after that. I think Rene Descartes maybe said that. But people are so lucky to have knowledge and books and to learn. And now we have Alexandria right here. Every human on earth has it right in their hand. And yet there's more flat earthers than there's ever been. And people are on the radio talking about Patrick Mahomes or LeBron James or Connor McDavid or whatever, and don't understand that this happens because of gravity. I mean, anyway, it's just go out and educate yourselves if you haven't already, please.
That is Ryan's rant, brought to you by Action Electrical. That was a doozy. Hey, that is living up to the name. I love it. Oh, somewhere, imagine if Bruce McCurdy would have heard that. He might have passed out right there. He might, like, somebody check on Bruce. We might, because Bruce is the one guy I follow. He's big into astrology, talks very intellectually on those type of topics. So I do know,
by the way, not astrology.
Yes, this very, very well said. But I do know the basics, TR, as far as the sun and the moon and who's rotating around too. So it is a good refresher about that. But yeah, there are like certain basics, and it's always if you're not sure what the conversation is, then don't discuss it. But that one is God. Now I want to go find that. I just want to hear it, because sometimes you need a good laugh. It would be funny. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We got 5 questions and more on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Try the new extra large New York style crispy pepperoni pizza.
Heating right up. Hey, whoa. TR, are you telling me I thought I thought Toronto was the center of the universe? There's lots of those.
I could be wrong.
It's true. It's true. Wait, the Sun's the center? I thought it was Toronto from Dana and many others. Now, boys, that's a rant. That's right. TR's bringing it right from the start of the show today. Just fired up. I love it. So it's fantastic because it's time now to get to 5 questions brought to you by The Brick, where they are always saving you more at The Brick and thebrick.com, including 20% off of dining room and bedroom furniture sets right now. And also you can save up to $1,200 on reclining sofas. Like, you want to talk about a game changer in comfort. The reclining sofa. So good. Get it at The Brick and thebrick.com.
It's time for 5 questions on the Jason Gregor Show.
All right, guys. Question number 1 for you today. Of course, Connor McDavid. It's the second straight day of practice. We know it might be a little bit longer, might not be too long. Just want to get your overall concern level with him missing today's practice with injury.
Well, I'm different than Jason in that I'm more concerned because when I looked at it, it looks like to me an ankle or a knee, and those things aren't nicks or bruises. They can last, okay? It's not 5-alarm bell, but I'm definitely a 5 out of 10. Like, what's going on here? It's the worst time that this can happen. Now, that being said, I know you're out there next to ground zero, and I literally have icebergs floating by about 30 minutes, not even away from my house. So I'm out of the mix. I say that as distant a fan as possible.
Yeah, based on the conversations I had today, my concern level isn't overly high. McDavid's not going to play tomorrow, and I'd be surprised if he played Friday. I think Saturday maybe at the earliest, and even then, I wouldn't be shocked if they see him get a full week off, right? Because they played Saturday, so he doesn't play for a full week, and then he can come back and play 3 games next week if he thinks. But I was told that they don't think it's anything overly serious. Obviously, anything can be nagging. So, that's, I guess, where I'd have maybe some concern, but it doesn't sound like it's overly serious, at least from the people I spoke to.
Question number 2, of the teams heading to the playoffs, or the teams we think will be making it to the playoffs, when you look between the pipes, which 3 teams do you think are in the best situation?
Oh, it's a good question. So 3 best situation. I would say, well, in the West, Winnipeg for sure, because their backup and their starters got the best numbers, and their backups got really good numbers. So I think Winnipeg would probably be the best. Now that Jake Ottinger, it's short term, but the way he's played here the last few weeks, I think I would go probably Dallas. Edmonton would be 3rd in the West. In the East, though, so Edmonton doesn't crack the top 3. In the East, I would still probably like the Rangers, because Shesterkin has found his game here the last month and a half, and they got a veteran behind him. So I'd probably go with Winnipeg, the Rangers, and then Florida with Bobrovsky and Stolarz.
Well, I tell you, my first answer is going to be the Rangers, because both guys, Quick's having this incredibly good year that I didn't see that coming, nor did a lot of other hockey fans, and just to go along with Shesterkin. So for that tandem, I can't not include those. But you're saying me who's in the best position? I don't think either of these teams are going to win. So it's not about what, but you're asking me if I'm going into any playoff with Vasilevsky, I think could go. I mean, his numbers are record setting. They're up there with the elite of all time. Now he's on a roll. He's coming back. I'd be a little bit worried if I was playing them, just that he might steal me 2 or 3 games. Beyond that, it's hard not to pick Connor Hellebuyck. As in a year that teams and goalies are there's a lot of parity involved. No matter what way you look at it, I think this guy's still as dominant as ever, and again can steal a series on his own.
Question number 3. Canada fell to the United States 1-0 in overtime yesterday at the IIHF Women's World Championship. If you had to take a prediction at who you think finishes gold, silver, and then bronze, where do you think it would play out?
Well, Canada lost 1-0, so I'm not going to try to be trendy and give you a different answer. That I want Canada to win. So I'm going to watch and I'm going to say Canada, U.S. After that, I try to pay attention, and I don't know who to pick other than Sweden or Finland. All I have to go by is their games against other teams. I don't think either of them can hold a candle to Canada or the U.S. if they're on their game. But this year, I'm going with Finland. It seems to me that they got a bit of momentum going, and I've followed them for a little bit, and they seem like a pretty solid squad.
Just a side note on that. How's that not a trip in overtime? Like, that's a textbook trip. She didn't touch the puck. She took the skates right out of her. Jenner just falls down. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, am I drinking crazy pills here? It's almost like TR, doesn't the sun revolve around the moon? Like, basically, that's what I thought when I'm watching that play, that it wasn't that wasn't a trip. But side note, I'll still take Canada all day long. Can't stand the Americans, so I'll take Canada. And I'm going to go different. I'm going to say I'm going to go with a little bit of an upset. I'm going to say Czech Republic.
All right. Question number 4. Masters right around the corner. What tour event is your favorite of the year?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably still the Masters. None of the other ones, like the Open, might be close, but I'll say the Masters.
Yeah, for me, I'm not into golf as much as you guys, but I watch. I like to stay relevant, and I'm interested in the best tournaments with the best sports. And when I watch, it seems to me that the most prestigious of them is the Masters, and everything that I like the history of it, and I like that it seems to me the players put it up on a pedestal as well. So I'll go with that.
Final question for you guys. On this day in 2009, one of my favorite shows, Parks and Recreation, debuted. So I want to ask you guys, what is your favorite workplace sitcom?
Workplace, man, there's a lot of good ones. Cheers is right up there. The Larry Sanders Show is way underrated, and I watched it 10 years after it went off the air, but I can see why it meant a lot. I'll give you The Office. I think the original Office, I saw that before the American one, and that really did a number on me. I loved it. But I'll tell you my two favorites. One, Off the Map, News Radio, when Phil Hartman was on it. Phil Hartman passed away, I think, after season 4.
Yeah.
But, the dude from Kids in the Hall, Dave somebody, I can't remember his name. But
Dave Foley.
Foley.
Andy Dick, right? Stephen Root, all on there.
Yeah, and I've started watching it again now, like this many years later. And I couldn't at first because I love Phil Hartman. It kind of brought a tear to my eye, but I'm back in that mode. I like it. But my favorite, if it's going to go workplace, is Veep. I think that's brilliant. And also, it's a way to follow politics without really following politics, with being entertained, right? Teach you a little bit about how it all works. And I find Julia Louis-Dreyfus is hilarious, as are the rest of the cast.
Honestly, to me, I never watched it like live when it was when it came out originally. I really only watched it probably 6 years ago. But The Office, there's not a show that has made me laugh more. Honestly, Seinfeld, of course, but no one's Seinfeld, but The Office, like, Michael was such a unique character, and that could be empathetic, and then he had like no feelings, and he had no couth, and oh my god, there were so many funny lines, and all the different characters. Like, they had so many. There's not many shows that have that many characters that you really kind of get a sense of. So The Office for me, all day long. There's so many funny different episodes and the different storylines, and like, Michael is just like, how can a human act like that?
Now, I'm not trying to be trendy again, but have you seen the original Office?
Yeah, with Ricky Gervais. Yeah, I saw it.
It's not as side splitting.
Yeah.
I saw it first, and there was a connection there, but I don't think it's as side splittingly funny. It's almost awkward, but anyway.
Yes. Yeah. It is. You're right. It's very British, I found, right? Like, and that's not a knock. It's just they have a different sense of humor for sure. So, but yeah, I watched it after the original one, so maybe I was a little skewed because I'd seen the American one, which obviously I know isn't the original one. But Steve Carell as Michael Scott was just, it was amazing, right? And honestly, Rainn Wilson, Dwight Schrute, like, oh my God, like the characters, Jim, like there's so many different characters and funny times. Like when Jim pretended he was Dwight and came in with his orange shirt on, oh my God, I was dying because there's guys in the office that would like to do that to their coworker all day long.
Yeah,
like,
you know it.
utterly amazing, right? Like
Some of those
there's
pranks go on. How many people hide keys in jelly and now and stuff?
Oh,
Or,
yes.
Jello.
Yeah. Oh God. And this like, like the uncomfortable scenes at times with Michael. Oh God. So
Oh
funny.
yeah, when he picks the basketball team and he just takes the black guys because he thinks they're going to be unreal. He's like, and it's such an endearing way. Like in other words, he's so subconsciously, let's say, ignorant. I don't want to use the
Yes.
word racist in this because it's funny. It's really,
Yeah.
but he's so ignorant.
Yeah,
And
well,
it's
and-
hilarious.
And probably what's funny about it now is we've become ultra sensitive about everything now.
I
and
know.
No one's ever allowed to laugh at something. Like it's humorous. It's okay to laugh. It's not. You have to understand where the jokes are coming from. And
Yeah.
man, there's some things that were obviously said in that show that people nowadays, oh my God, they would be crying on their social media page. Oh my God, I'm offended.
Yeah, it's like any generalization you make. Like some things are racially driven and they're funny, and we high five each other, both races. Or it's just like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So sensitive. Yeah.
Oh no, it's funny because I actually had a conversation with Sean Brown about that today. All right. And he's like, oh no, that's what the black guys do. We always, when I see the black guy, it's instant. And he was just telling the story. Now he's saying it, not me. But I was chuckling how he's
Yeah.
saying it. So
Well, you
it
feel
was-
bad when you're just bringing up the topic now or something. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, you got to keep
Oh, yeah.
checking every member. Like, what did I just say? You're just
No, that's-
and you're just telling a good story.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to know who your friends are and people and I do think some people, they're just, there's going to be somebody who, and it's way easier to be full outraged online when you're anonymous, and they just do it for whatever. But yeah, that's The Office in real time now. There'd be way too many people complaining, which is why I like the show even more. So,
What about you, Connor?
Both good ones that you guys have selected. I really got into Silicon Valley the last couple months here, HBO show, and Workaholics. If you just need a cheap, stupid laugh, those two
Okay.
guys are hilarious.
I've
Workaholic.
heard Workaholics.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's crude. It's three younger guys that like to drink and party, but good for a laugh every once in a while.
Nice.
Do you guys have either one of you ever watched Superstore?
Yes,
I have never known.
Oh yeah.
I like that one as well.
Yeah.
Struddy got me into that actually.
Yeah, I've just started it here about a year ago. I don't watch it religiously, but I pick it up and it does make me chuckle. I won't lie. I find that show it's pretty comedic. Now, obviously it has some lines, and I've never worked in that industry, so some of the jokes I'm like, well, and then people are like, oh no, that happened, right? So, I get it, right? It would be. There's always, anybody who's ever worked, I think, in the hospitality industry, when you have shows about that, usually you can relate to a lot of the jokes that they make because you're like, oh no, that's legit. I know someone who would act like that at the workplace. So it definitely happened. TR, great show today, buddy. Your best rant, no question about it. People, if you missed it, check it out on the podcast or go to jasongregor.com. It's always up there. Have yourself a wonderful Tuesday, and we will chat with you later this week. Oh no, where are you going? Where are you going tomorrow?
I'm going tomorrow to Winnipeg, and Thursday we've got 3 games early. It's what happens is tomorrow night I go out there and they draft us, quote unquote, let's say ex-NHLers, not celebrities really, but people that are brought in, some special guests. They draft us, and then the next day we go in the morning from like 9 till 2:30, and we play 3 little games that I think are 15 minutes each. There's a winner. We have a dinner, and then I get on the red eye home. But I might be able to do the show. I'm not sure. I'll let you know on Thursday.
Oh, no worries, buddy. You need to rest up. So don't hurt yourself. Are you wearing a full shield?
Oh God, I don't wear a half shield. I'm sure you'll have to soon. But you want to call it taking a risk? Maybe it is. But I love playing with no visor. It's one of my favorite things about the sport.
Oh,
so
I get it.
I'm going to continue to do so until something happens. Knock on wood. It doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. I totally get it. TR, have yourself a great Tuesday. Fly safe to Winnipeg. It's a long bus ride in when there's no airport, so be safe.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Connor. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Edmonton. And I'll see you guys again soon.
There you go. That's Terry Ryan. He wasn't. No, we'll talk to him afterwards. You might not be aware of the airport in Winnipeg. We'll find out. Coming up, we will have Mark Spector. Jason Strudwick is going to stop by. Him and DVD switch spaces today. Let's get to the Con Man of Sports 1440 update, brought to you by the Alberta GMC dealers. Get up to $6,500 cash purchase credit on a 24 Sierra 1500 Denali Ultimate during Truck Month. Go to gmcoffers.ca for more details.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
Some news from Oilers practice today. Forward and captain Connor McDavid did not practice. Head coach Chris Knobloch saying he would consult with the center on Wednesday ahead of their game against the Vegas Golden Knights. Our very own Jason Gregor reporting that Connor McDavid will not play in that one. Connor McDavid entered today's action, currently sitting third in the league in scoring with 130 points, including a league-high 99 assists. The Oilers also recalling forward Dylan Holloway from the Bakersfield Condors. In 18 appearances, he had 10 goals and 6 helpers. And the New Jersey Devils announcing that Jack Hughes will undergo shoulder surgery tomorrow and is expected to make a full recovery in time for training camp in September. On the ice tonight, the Hurricanes are in Boston. Canadians take on the Flyers. Caps battle the Red Wings. Lightning host the Jackets. Sends in Florida to battle the Panthers. Devils up against the Leafs. The Rangers in Elmont taking on the Islanders. Preds host the Jets. Sabres in Dallas. Wild up against the Avalanche. The Kings take on the Ducks. Kraken host the Coyotes. And the Flames in San Jose. In the association, the Raptors in action. They'll take on the Pacers. Tip off in about 5 minutes' time. The Blue Jays also playing tonight, hosting the Mariners. First pitch set for 5:07. A couple games going on right now. White Sox lead the Guardians 5-2 in the third. And in the second, Reds and Brewers currently scoreless. Earlier today, Tigers and Pirates. Detroit victorious 5-3, and the Orioles get past the Red Sox 7-1. Later tonight, Cubs in San Diego. Giants hosting the Nationals. Rays take on the Angels. Rockies host the Diamondbacks, and the Athletics are in Texas taking on the Rangers. One game in the AJ tonight. It's Game 7, Whitecourt and Canmore. That one will starting just after 7 o'clock. In some news from the CFL, the Edmonton Elks signing wide receiver Hergy Mayala, offensive lineman Shane Richards, and Hunter Stewart. Richards was the first overall pick back in 2019. Coming up in hour 4 of the Jason Gregor Show, we will be joined by Mark Spector of Rogers Sportsnet and former NHLer Jason Strudwick. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton.
On Tuesday afternoon on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. How are you as you make your way home? Remember, Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca. You have a few hours to get in the Lotto Max $60 million. Woo-hoo. Wouldn't that be fun? Oof. Probably need a break. Probably just have to quietly decide what you would do. There's also 6 Lotto Max. Maybe you're like, I don't want 60. I just want one. You can get both. PlayAlberta.ca, and of course, a heavy slate of NHL games tonight. Washington and Detroit, a huge game for them tonight. There's other games with implications. The Kings looking to secure themselves third place in the Pacific Division as they take on the Anaheim Ducks. Now, let's get to the Specker Board brought to you by GS Construction. They continue to roll. They are super busy right now, and they are hiring. Go to Indeed.com and look up GS Construction. Whether you're a beginner, you got lots of experience in different roles, top woman, top man, you're a operator, sewer operator, foreman, or maybe just want to start out an entry-level position. They got them all. Go to GS Construction. You'll work for a great company, and look it up at Indeed.com. Is Mark Spector from Rogers Sportsnet joins us, and Spec Connor McDavid is day-to-day. I don't. Source tells me I don't expect him to play tomorrow night. I won't be surprised if he misses 2, maybe all 3 games this week. It doesn't sound like it's anything serious that would keep him out of next week, but I think they will err on the side of caution. And the tomorrow though is pretty much a slam dunk. Won't play.
Yeah, I would suggest that anyone thinking of the playoffs would for sure have Connor sit out a game or 2. I don't listen. Like, let's say this: it doesn't matter if he only needs, let's say, 2 games to get his 100th point, and really, it's not about his 100th point. We don't care about the Art Ross or any of that stuff. So he's not going to get rusty missing games at this point of the year. He's only going to get rested. I see absolutely no hurry in bringing him back. Err on the side of caution, give him extra days. Like, there is no hurry here. I don't even care about first place that much, because I'm not sure getting first place will get you a better opponent than second place, or maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't think anybody knows.
Well, at this point, it's probably going to get you LA or Vegas, either one, right? It looks like, yeah, like, unless Nashville finishes ahead of Vegas or LA, then, because if you finish second, you could then have to go to Nashville if they're the first wild card team. So those are your options. But like, is there a clear easier, like, is LA or Vegas that much easier in your eyes? I think like Vegas right now is not the dominant team of last year. I've crunched some numbers. I'll have it out tomorrow in my game day article about, where Vegas is at right now. And trust me, I don't care what they have potentially coming. They're because everyone's, they missed Mark Stone. No, they have been terrible defensively for a long time as a team. And that was their calling card. And I don't know if you can just flip a switch and suddenly be good again defensively.
Well, it's a good question. Vegas is they've got a bunch of stuff going on, a bunch of injuries. The team we're going to see tomorrow night's not going to have might have Aiden Hill, actually. He's practicing today, so he might play. But it won't have Pietrangelo. It won't have Stone. It won't have Carrier. Thomas Hertl, who is a fantastic player, is coming back after 2 months of not playing. He was very good last night, but our experience is those guys tend to give you a couple good games and then fall back a little when they come from a long time away. So they've got a lot. They've got a lot of ground to cover quickly. I would, I guess the question sort of becomes, you make the point, and one team's not way better than the other. There's no way to control who you're going to get. So I just think to me, it is all about the Oilers being ready and healthy and the best version of themselves they can be for when the playoffs start. And these last 6 games, obviously you got to stick in second place. You can't, Vegas, what's LA behind? 6 points behind? They're probably and
Edmonton's got to win like 2 of 6 to stay in. So they're,
I think they can do that.
Yeah, and then LA would have to go like 5-0. So, and that's best case scenario. So I think Edmonton's got a really good chance. Dylan Holloway recalled today. He's going to play tomorrow, starting with McLeod and Perry. Do you think Holloway, do you see a legit opening in the lineup that Holloway could slam it? Because I know everyone's going to say Janmark, but I know how the coach views Janmark and the role that Janmark plays. defensive player, doesn't give up, doesn't score a lot of goals, doesn't get scored on, doesn't make many mistakes, kills penalties. Like, can you see Holloway playing his way onto this team, or does he have to play his way on in the top 9, not necessarily on that fourth line?
Yeah, I think that you said it. He doesn't do what Janmark does, right? You can't just because he's younger and faster doesn't mean he's better than every guy. Like Janmark's position is as you described, and Holloway does not fit that bill. Holloway is not solid defensively. Holloway does not kill penalties, and it's not the time of year to learn. So to me, he's a third line winger on this team. He's a middle six winger on this team. But he's got a lot to prove, and he's got to beat guys out to hold the job. He's got to beat guys out to hold the job. There's no skating around and hitting a couple guys and looking real fast and getting nothing done here for Dylan Holloway. That won't hold a spot in the lineup, right? He's got to make plays. He has to be able to control a puck in the opposition zone and be part of a successful cycle, which is not his strength. He's got to be responsible defensively. He's got to be a good player to play on this team, or he won't get to play on it because it's a pretty good team.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's a good time, though, for him to get up here. And, I think it's smart to get him in, just let him play, feel comfortable just in case you need him, because you never know. You get one injury and suddenly you might need him. Because I definitely think he's better suited.
Yeah. And, young guys in the playoffs, Jay, like Holloway's had a few fresh starts here, and that's okay. That's how young players go. They go down, they come up. They go down, they come up. Who knows when it takes for Dylan Holloway? Who knows when he finds the right line mates? Who knows when he gets a little confidence? Like there's for sure a player here. It's just a question of, unfortunately for him, he's trying to make a pretty good team that's pretty established with a lot of established forwards. It's a hard team to make for him, but he's a good player, and you never know when it clicks. You never know when he gets a couple breaks and he gets some confidence. And we've all watched in the playoffs, some rookie comes in and has a hell of a run. And if that's him, man, I'm here to watch it.
Oh yeah. Like, hey, the Oilers would love nothing more than to have happen, but it's, he's got to earn himself a spot on the team by playing very well. And, if he does, to me, it's just like, hey, make the decision really hard on the coach. It's like, God, I don't know if I want to take this guy out of the lineup, right? That's what he has to do in these games. No question. You mentioned Vegas, and they've got guys banged up. They lose in Vancouver last night. They had a 2-0 lead early on. I think Jack Eichel scored on his first 2 shots of the game. Then they had a 3-2 lead. Lost it both. And to me, that just summarizes what Vegas is right now. And even I know people. They were without Pietrangelo. Okay, guess what? In March, since March 1st, he's missed 8 games. He's played 9. In the 8 games, he played 9. In the 9 games he played, they gave up 3.55 goals per game. In the 8 games he didn't play, they gave up 3.49. Like, it ain't much difference, right? Like, there is a systemic issue right now in Vegas that isn't just about, Pietrangelo's out of the lineup.
Well, and then we talk about flipping a switch. And, I'll tell you, I don't think in the last 4 or 5 years, correct me if I'm wrong, I would say to you that probably nobody except for maybe Tampa has played as much hockey as the Vegas Golden Knights, right? In terms of 2 trips to Stanley Cup finals, lots of playoff rounds. It's like that team's, we're at the end of a long night's run, and maybe not a coincidence. There's lots of guys that are hurt all the time on that team. They got a long list of injuries, and it's not because they don't have a good training staff or, some stupid thing like that. When these guys are all in fantastic shape, when you get all these guys hurt this often, it tells me this team's getting tired, right? This team's getting tired. So it doesn't mean they can't beat you in a round. It doesn't mean they're, but it does tell me flipping the switch isn't going to be the answer here. They got to find their defensive game. And when the playoffs start, and, if I'm a fast team like Edmonton, I think I could skate with them. So, let's see what they got. They've had a pretty good team and a pretty good run. I don't know, Jay. Let's see if they can keep that run going.
Mark Spector joins us. Spec, I have to ask you, have you ever seen your team give up an 8-0 lead before?
Wow.
It's quite the performance by your Cubbies last night.
Yeah. I was going to say it must be the Cubs you're talking about.
Yeah, they were up 8-0 and lost 9-8, dude.
Yeah, well, welcome to being a Cubs fan, pal. That's what my life's like. How's yours?
Well, geez. You don't even know when they have one of their historic losses. Come on. I thought I'd bring it up just to see.
I had a bunch of stuff on last night. I was in Calgary. Yeah, 9-8. That's what it was. 8. How many innings did it take them to blow it?
Oh, God. I think they were up 8-0 in the 5th or something. Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
Oh. So you're telling me the bullpen's not exactly stellar. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it wasn't last night, no. And no, not at all. So I know that, hey, crazy leads happened before, but an 8-0 one, that is a tough one. In San Diego, they're going bananas for it. I just thought I'd mention that.
Thanks. For that.
We look at the down the stretch here. The playoff races and stuff. McDavid's going to miss a game or two. You look at Vancouver, where they're at. Demko might, Oiler fans might get to see Demko up close and personal. It sounds like Saturday night is when he could come back, which obviously would be a big boost to that team. You look at Colorado, though. I think of all the West, like the top teams, like if I'm looking at the 4 teams who have home ice, I think Colorado might be the one the most susceptible for an upset. Rantanen's a little bit banged up, but man, they've been leaking a lot of goals. They don't have nearly the depth that they had last year. I wonder that, they go up against that Winnipeg team and Connor Hellebuyck. Like if there's one goalie in the West who can win a series, I think it's Connor Hellebuyck.
Well, when you're picking series, and we're all going to end up picking some series pretty quick here, when you're picking them, and if you're not sure who's going to beat who, for me anyway, the first place I go is goaltending. Who's got the better goalie? If the teams are equal, who has the better goalie? They're probably, I guess we don't know who's playing each other, but there won't be many worse mismatches than Hellebuyck versus Georgiev, right? That is a slam dunk as to who's the better goalie here. So yes, that's a big one. Georgiev hadn't been very good lately, and you're talking about Vegas flipping a switch. You can't, everybody says it and everyone says it because it's true, Jason. It's all about how you're playing when the playoffs start. That's why in hockey, so many 8th place teams have gone on to do great things, because most of those 8th place teams had to play their buns off just to get in. They were playing their best hockey when the playoffs started. That's how they grabbed 8th place. And so often that first place team's kind of cruising along like, we made the playoffs a month ago. So Colorado's in that boat. They haven't been playing very good hockey. Now they've got, I think, 4 left, but man, that's only 4 games. Like, let's go. Your team in Edmonton, they're playing pretty well. I don't mind the way they're playing. They're winning most of their games. They look fine. If it's out, that's okay. They'll still play. But the point is, whatever plans we make for these last 6 games, we're going to sit that guy, we're going to play that guy, we're going to get Stetcher, they want to get Broberg a couple. Whatever it is, the most important thing is that your team finds its game and plays good hockey going into the playoffs. That trumps everything.
Spec, we will see you at the Connor McDavid-less rink tomorrow, and we will get set for an Oilers Vegas game.
All right, man, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good day.
There you go. That's Mark Spector, and the Spec Report brought to you by GS Construction. And if you're just joining us, Connor McDavid got a minor tweak. Don't expect him to play tomorrow. The weekend, we'll see. But doesn't sound like there's anything that's going to carry over into the postseason. Right? So, a minor thing that, maybe is a week. So a week, remember, they played Saturday. A week means you'd only miss 3 games. Technically 2. If they allow him to play on Saturday, if he's ready to go on Saturday or not, we'll see. But I don't think it's anything to get too concerned about Oiler fans, based on everything I've heard. This is, just sometimes you get banged up, and it's late in the year. The Oilers, I wouldn't say they have nothing to play for because there's still the chance of home ice advantage, but I don't think it's like, oh my God, we have to finish first. If we don't finish first, we have such an infinitely harder road to the postseason. It just means that you might not have home ice in the second round, right? If the first place team wins. That's essentially what it is. So the Oilers, they're pretty much locked in second place. LA have to win all 5 of their games, and then Edmonton would have to go 2-4. If they go 2-3-1, they're in. So 2-4 down the stretch. You got Arizona twice, San Jose, Vegas, who's not playing great. And I know the Oilers will be without McDavid, but Vegas is going to be out without Stone. They're going to be out with Pietrangelo, probably not Aiden Hill, maybe. So I definitely think tomorrow's still a winnable game for the Edmonton Oilers. When we come back, Jason Strudwick will join us. We'll talk about the Oilers' defense. Also, Struddy's advancements in technology. How's it doing? Next on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Rodeo clown.
Welcome back. Gregor Show on Sports 1440, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. How you doing? Hopefully having a great drive home. Not too much snarls. Shouldn't be that too much traffic issues right now. So get home safe. Be calm. Don't flip anybody the bird. All right, serenity now. Serenity. Even if you want to, hold it in. Give them a smile. Big smile on their face. Especially if they're the loser driver. It's always better. They're like, why are they smiling at me? Classic. Now, let's get to the oil report brought to you by VolvoCarsEdmonton.com. Spring is here, and you can lease for 0.99% or save $5,000 off all new and demo 2024 XC Recharge plug-in hybrid models at Canada's #1 Volvo dealership, VolvoCarsEdmonton.com. As we welcome in former NHLer, co-host of Got Your Back podcast, runner-up in Battle of the Blades, and a gentleman who, according I keep getting all these messages that suggesting that his blazer's too tight. We'll find out. Jason Strudwick joins us. Struddy, you're getting a lot of people asking you, but I can't believe how many people sending me notes. Hey, do you think Struddy? Because I don't watch when I'm especially on the home games, I don't see it. So now I record it, but usually I just fast forward over the intermissions when I'm watching the next game. But I did stop, and is the blazer a little tight?
Well, I'm not the specimen I used to be, but I still think it looks pretty good. My wife likes it like that, right? She likes just seeing a little bit of tightness in the old shoulders and chest when I slip that bad boy on.
Okay, all right, well, that's good. The Oilers, McDavid, he's not going to play tomorrow. It might miss 2 games, maybe 3. I'd err on the side of caution if I was the Edmonton Oilers. I don't think the Art Ross means that much. It means something. People that say it means nothing, I'll strongly disagree with that. But obviously, I understand that the Stanley Cup means more. So you rest up. I look at it as kind of a positive in a way. It's an opportunity stretch. You're always looking for different things late in the year to kind of keep you going. Well, here it's like you can rally around this and say, okay, boys, like let's show up here and beat Vegas. They got some guys out. Let's show we can win without Connor.
Oh, for sure. And I think just going back to Con in your statement, I do believe that Art Ross matters, but it's in a priority. So I think the priority is if I was Connor, is first off, being ready for the playoffs, right?
Yep.
And then next off, if you can check the next box, which is win the Art Ross, or I'm assuming he's going to get the 100 assists or whatever, you go down the list. That's kind of how it works. So yeah, if Connor's not feeling great, you want to make sure that he gets himself healthy. And I'd say the same for any player on the Oilers. You want to, if there's an opportunity to just take a pause for a game or two or whatever it takes to get healthy, you make that happen. But you're right. You look at Vegas, they're playing without Pietrangelo. And I watched quite a bit of that game last night with Vancouver. And, they're not the juggernaut we saw last year. I think they're trying to figure out those, because I believe that was Hurdle's first game, trying to figure out how he fits in, and everyone's trying to figure out what it looks like, how it feels. Like Logan Thompson didn't look completely comfortable in the pipes. You can kind of tell when a goalie's putting his arms up after that, maybe, he's not thrilled with what's going on in front of him or what's going on within him, his own game. So, yeah, tomorrow night, I'm assuming Leon would take that number 1 spot, and then you just kind of fill the lines out from there. But again, there's an opportunity for someone else to eat up minutes, because that's a huge amount of minutes. Like, it's 5-on-5 and it's power play. And that's a huge opportunity for someone to get buzzing, someone to get their legs going. And maybe we'd see a different look on a line or two, or we would see different looks through all 4 lines, but someone gets a pop up and like, hey, look how I'm doing, look how I can play. So yeah, you're gonna whoever's in the lineup is gonna try to win that game tomorrow, even with or without 97 beside you.
Yeah, well, Henrique's going to center Kane and Fogle. It's going to be McLeod with Holloway and Perry, and then Mark Brown and either Carrick or Ryan. I would guess it's going to be Sam Carrick, considering he didn't play on the weekend, and usually Knobloch doesn't like those guys to sit out too long. I think on Friday you'll see Troy Stetcher against his former Arizona team, and one of the D-men will get a rest. Dylan Holloway gets the recall, Struds. I view Dylan Holloway as a player. If he's going to play in Edmonton, he's going to be in your top 9. I just don't see him in the role or the responsibility of what they want in their 4th line, to be honest. He doesn't kill penalties, so it's hard to stay in the game. Brown and Janmark kill penalties, so you know what, they can play limited minutes 5-on-5, but their penalty kill allows them to stay in the game. If Holloway's on your 4th line, it's really hard for him to stay in the game. So I look at him, and if he's going to knock someone out here before the playoffs, he's going to have to earn it by playing very well, and then taking someone out of your top 9.
Yeah, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer for the Holloway fans, but I think it's unlikely he pushes someone out of a spot prior to the playoffs. Unless there's an injury, I think that could be a possibility, but I just don't see him pushing someone who's been here and been playing and they're building towards. I just don't think it's happening. But I think for Holloway to grab a spot, and it might come. I mean, there's always injuries in the playoffs. But if I were him, when I get in there, I gotta. The playoffs, I believe, is about getting the offensive zone, retrieving pucks or carrying in, and then hanging on to that puck and just having those long extended shifts in the offensive zone where you grind it out and, you're holding on to it, using your D to D, quick shot of the net, you're pounding the net. Like, it's not the prettiest hockey all the time, but it's kind of like successful hockey where you just grind and grind and grind. So, and it doesn't mean unskilled. I think people sometimes misunderstand grinding for unskilled. It's a skilled game. Holding on to the puck protection, interchanging with your buddies, D-man jumping off the point, like all those things, that is skill. Grind in this situation doesn't mean It's unskilled. But that's what I think. If I'm Holloway, my mindset, I hope he was working on that down the minors, like just hanging on that puck and being just a puck hog down there holding and making other teams react to his big body and speed.
Jason Strudwick joins us. And you know what? I think it's, a little bit of a patient game, right? He's got good reviews down in the American League. And I think that's important. Like, I've seen some people lately, well, look at what Dallas is doing. Yeah, well, Maverick Bourque led the American League in scoring with 71 points. Dylan Holloway's not even close to a point-a-game player in the American League, right? Like, you can't compare the two and just say, well, yeah, look at Maverick Bourque gets a chance. Well, yeah, because he was still the leading scorer, and they didn't call him up until now, right? Stan Coven had 47 points in 37 games when he got called up, right? Or 57 and 47, whatever it was. He was, was well over a point-a-game player. Like, so it's different. Dylan Holloway is going to be, I think getting that hat trick and really starting to dominate down there, getting to kill some penalties, I think is wise, because when he comes up here to start, he's probably going to be more chance of being a penalty kill than he is a power play guy. And, tomorrow against Vegas, like, that's the perfect game. Like, Dylan Holloway should be playing like he's shot out of a cannon tomorrow night. I'm going to be very intrigued to see how he plays.
Yeah, and so physicality, he's got to bring that physical play. But you have to have the puck, and when you get it, you have to hold on to it and make plays with it. And those are the things that not only do your coaches value, but your line mates value. They want you to hold on to it. Not to talk about the altercation between Kane and Perry, but there's some thought that maybe it was when Kane just kind of casually threw the puck into the middle. I call that a hope play.
Yeah.
Like, your line mates, they work so hard to get it. Don't put it somewhere where you're not. There's like a 50-50 chance. Hold on to it, especially when you're on a line that's kind of heavier and you want to play in the offensive zone. And that's the style of game that most of the guys want to play, is hang on to it. And some of you are going to score off the rush, but as you've talked about many times, Greg, the chances off the rush and goals off the rush do kind of shrink down because teams are a little more detailed there. So now it's that playoff-like goals that are created through this type of play. And again, it's not unskilled. That is skilled grinding, is what I call it, and it works. Just ask teams that won Stanley Cups.
I viewed the Kane Perry thing as a good thing because of exactly what you said. Like, that's a whole play. It's like, guys, that's unacceptable. We can't do it anymore. And Kane's reaction, like, he didn't bite back. It's, whatever. He listened and maybe didn't listen, but it wasn't. I didn't view it. I actually view it as a positive. How did you take it?
Yeah, I mean, there's guys that go at each other on whether it's in the dressing room or on the bench, and it does happen. We've seen it. It's not like it never happens before, but generally speaking, it's not that this one time. This is something that maybe has been built up, and I'm not to suggest that Kane has done 100 times has given the puck up, but you usually when you have something with a teammate, it'd be like, just like for me, it'd be like, hey, let's just identify what rush this is. You thought it was a 2-on-2, but it was a 3-on-2. And the far guy got a pass and just blasted in the net. Like, and then if you tell him a few times, and you look at the video, then the fourth or fifth time, you're like, buddy, like, enough. Like, you got to figure this out. So I'm guessing this was something they talk about maybe, and maybe it happened previously, but it happens with all players. But like, you just got to challenge each other to be a better version of yourselves, because in the playoffs, that's a giveaway. Like, that's just exactly what it is. I don't recall seeing anyone around in that area for that pass, and you want to hang on to that puck as much as possible.
Well, actually, I thought in the Colorado game, he had 3 passes that were awful. Twice on the power play, came in the zone on the left side and just threw the puck to a blind area. And honestly, I think it might have stemmed from that because he wasn't on the power play after that. Point. Right. And so that's where I think it was kind of like, hey, and I like the timing of it from Perry because it happened not after a goal. So it shows we can't wait and only get upset when it results in a goal, because if we allow it to creep in our game, eventually it will become a goal. So let's now nip it in the butt before it becomes a goal against.
Yeah, and so it doesn't hurt quite as badly. Like, after a goal scored, you feel bad enough about what you've done, and so it was emotional, but it wasn't like a dire straight situation, right?
Yes.
So yeah, that's a really good point. And entering in the zone, the power play, it's all about getting, like, whether I'm coaching or I was watching the Oilers or anyone, I want them to get under control, get the zone, get it deep, hang on to it, and then set up, and then now we can attack. And when you're forcing plays to the middle or off the rush that aren't there, that's what we want as penalty killers. We want you to force a play that's a 50-50 puck. We don't want you to have 100%, certainty of what you're trying to accomplish. And now you get set up, and now we're on our heels because you are now 5-on-4 in our zone.
Jason Strudwick joins us on Sports 1440. Struddy, I thought Darnell Nurse and had a tough game, obviously in the Dallas game. The last weekend though, I thought was much better from them. Cody Ceci might have played one of his best games ever on Friday night, and I wonder if there was something about Paul Coffey and like I don't know what I wonder if they're I looked at some of the ice time and allocation of minutes and stuff, and I sense that there's a little bit of a challenge maybe coming from them. What do you think?
Well, I mean, that game against Dallas was a really tough one for different reasons. And, I called it a wake up call or you get a reset after that and you want to be better. And let's be honest, Colorado looked like they were running on fumes, and then, Calgary is what it is. So I think I would maybe, it's not that I don't give full marks for those 2 wins. They're two teams that are, pretty competitive, but I would slide to this game tomorrow night and see how everyone plays in that one, because that's going to be emotional. It's going to be intense, and we'll see how the guys respond, because it is about responding. And oftentimes I've said this about Darnell many times, he's trying to do too much. Like, there are some shifts you don't have to win. You don't have to hit a home run every shift. Some shifts it's just enough just to be out there and have a low event shift.
Yeah.
And I think and then for CC, I think it's maybe the opposite. I think Cody needs to be a little bit more assertive and more physical. I want to see him be, they talk about him being, if not the strongest, one of the strongest Oilers. I want to see that. Toss guys around every now and then, get in there and step out of that comfort zone. So for those 2 guys, I think that's kind of where I think they can both kind of, be a little bit better. As Darnell, just sometimes it's just okay to have an average shift. And then for CC, be more assertive physically and be physical. It's okay to take some penalties sometimes, especially if it's an aggressive nature.
Yeah, well, no, that is fair. If you're that strong, then sometimes you got to show it, right? And it doesn't always mean in a fight either. It just means work a guy over in the corner, work a guy over in front of the net, and get better positioning in front of the net to use this strength that everybody says you have. Before I let you go, Strud, I got to know was it your first time running the scoreboard?
The scoreboard where?
Like the score clock? Or were you running the score clock recently in minor hockey?
Oh, no, it's for basketball.
Oh, basketball.
I was actually scorekeeping.
Scorekeeping.
So,
oh, how'd that go?
Yeah, no, I had it. Well, good. It's like U13 basketball. So it's pretty good. It's fun, man. You get in there, and Jackie was my partner. She ran the clock. She's she's an expert. She's an expert. She's doing it a long time. Yeah, so I was scorekeeping and fouls. I'd have to mention I have 4 fouls on 27 or whatever, Actually, I don't know if I want to know the truth, I'd give myself an A.
Really? An A?
Yeah, I nailed it.
You nailed it, yeah.
Penmanship was on.
Mm-hmm. Penmanship
was great.
Yeah. Well, you're a big calligrapher. A lot of people don't know that, right? You used to study that, right? Was one of your majors in the University of the Caribou College of
University College of the Caribou.
Right.
Have the respect for those
Sorry.
types of learning establishments.
Well, it's true. It's when it has that good of a name, I shouldn't remember it. But although when I Google it, it's not around, so I'm questioning if it actually existed.
No, it's evolved to something else. I think it's like Three Rivers College now or something, which is ironic because there's only 2 rivers in Canada, so I'm not sure how that works.
Well, maybe there's an underground.
Anyways.
Maybe there's an underground third one that you haven't heard of.
An aquifer. I don't know.
Well, Struddy, we'll see how the Oilers fare tomorrow night, sans McDavid, and be a good test against a Vegas team. And now one last one for you. Now I know he's not playing tomorrow, but are you surprised at all that the Oilers did nothing to Alex Pietrangelo this year after he tried to take off Leon Draisaitl's arm in the playoffs?
Yeah, interesting point. Yeah, you know what? I mean, he got the 1-game suspension, and so did Darnell. I didn't think that was really fair, but I don't know. I mean, I think what I take from it is that I know in the playoffs we're going after him again because I want him to have that response. So I think you can get to him. That's probably more of what I'm taking home than getting even. Like, he's not going to fight anybody. Like, if I was him, I wouldn't fight anyone. So you can try to run him, which is a possibility. But you also don't want to get in trouble yourselves. But if they play Vegas, I'm circling his name, saying, guys, we got to get after this guy and get in his head because it worked last year. Let's do it again. Yeah, no, I understand that, but I meant like in the regular season where, and I know that, that there was 2 games, but I was looking back on that, and I don't know. I still get the sense that that's not finished business, and I don't think it should be. I just don't think you can. And maybe people will say I'm too much of a dinosaur, but you go after your second best player in that manner,
I still think at some point you got to pay the piper.
But he's arguably would he be their top 3 players?
Yeah.
You know,
so what?
2. So it's kind of like it's 2 really top players going at it, right? It's not like it's not like it was the 4th liner going after Leon. It was like you get up to that level, it's kind of equal for equal. So I don't know. I wouldn't feel quite as bad about it.
Okay, interesting. Well, we'll see if at some point in the future we see some retribution. I thought that was such a dirty play. Maybe that's why. So we'll see. Didn't nothing happen. Struddy, enjoy the game tomorrow night. We will chat with you next Tuesday. How was? Oh, by the way, before I let you go, how did you stir the hornet's nest up in Toronto today?
A little bit, yeah. You know what? Usually I go after Mitch Marner, but he's missed so much time. I know he's back now, but it's not as much fun. Like you can't trip a guy that's just getting back from injury. So I did a little bit, but not as much as usual. It was not quite as exciting.
You went easy on him, is what you're saying.
I did,
okay.
For sure.
All right. Well, that's disappointing. So, all right, Struddy. Well, next time, just before the playoffs.
I got him.
Yeah, just before the playoffs.
You know it.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Have a good one.
Talk to you guys later.
There you go. That's Jason Strudwick. For those who don't know, it goes on Overdrive in Toronto. It's so funny. He just does it to fire up. God, it's comical. Oh, and well, really, because I think O'Neill and Hayes, like they got their Maple Leaf, little tighty whities on so tight all the time that they can't handle it. Like it's so funny.
He was co-hosting today, actually.
What?
Yeah. So he said he was reading up on because they had Shapiro on. He had to ask questions about the renovations. He's like, I don't care about those renovations, but I had to sound informed.
Oh, geez.
He puts in the research.
Oh, my God. Too funny. 5:40. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back on the Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Truck Month is on now at GMC.
Tuesday afternoon, the Gregor Show, coming to you live in the E-Well studio. EWEL.ca, your local electrical distributor. Always make a little bit more electrified of a show with E-Well involved. EWEL.ca. Some early scores in the NHL. The big game tonight, of course. Two teams battling for their playoff lives, the Capitals and the Red Wings. The Red Wings all over them in the first period. Shooting the Capitals 17-8, but no score. Tied up at and it's funny, you see that game, and then you got the Hurricanes and the Bruins. They have a total of 8 shots, 4 apiece. The Panthers have an early 2-0 lead. The Flyers, oh my goodness, the Flyers, they're just dying on the vine down the stretch. They're playing another non-playoff team tonight, and they are losing 1-0. Yuri Slavkovsky has his 17th goal of the season. The Leafs and Devils knotted up at 1. The Islanders, baby, they're making a push for the playoff. They lead 3 Cobb over the Rangers in the first period. Mike Riley, Bo Horvat, and Kyle Palmieri with the first period goals. So the Islanders are like, hey, you guys crack the door open. We're going to barge on right through it. And hey, they control their own destiny. They could finish in third and be taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. Tampa Bay and the Blue Jackets knotted up at 1. Late games, which I guess maybe impact the orders. The Predators are hosting the Jets, and the Kings are in Anaheim to take on the Ducks. The orders are pretty much secured second place. I know some people have texted in. They're all worried, the orders are going to fall out without McDavid. I'm like, I wouldn't go that far. LA, if they win all 5 of their games, all Edmonton needs to do is go 2-3-1 in their 6 games. I don't think that's considering Edmonton has the best record in the NHL since Knobloch took over. Going 2-3-1 wouldn't be that hard, right? That means you beat Arizona once and you beat San Jose, and then you get a point in one of the Vegas, Colorado, Vancouver games. Come on, I don't think that's going to be very hard. So, and then that still means you're losing to the other Arizona game. So, no, I don't. I think Edmonton is locked in second. First place, well, they technically control their destiny if they win all 6 of their games, and they will pass Vancouver automatically because although they do have to beat Vancouver in regulation. Because if Vancouver wins their other 3 games but loses the Oilers in regulation, then they'd both have 111 points, and Vancouver would have the tiebreaker because they have more regulation wins. So there you go. Hey, guys, if Draisaitl does well with Hyman and Nugent-Hopkins, do you attempt 97 with new guys? Is that crazy? Yes, it is crazy. The McDavid, Hyman, Nugent-Hopkins line has been, look at all the numbers. It's like the most dominant line all season long. If Draisaitl has 2 good games or 3 good games without it, no, I would not switch it up. I don't see any reason to. Hey, boys, I like to give people the thumbs up instead of a finger. I feel it cuts deeper from Slippery Pete. I agree with you. Right? So get someone mad. They're expecting you to get upset. And you just give them the thumbs up. It's like, oh, geez, now they're confused. They don't know what's going on. So it's tough. Very tough. We have a lot of educators who are texting thanking TR for his rant. It was nice. I like it. Hey, guys, it seemed like Boston got tired of Bruce Cassidy's tenure a few years ago. Have the players had enough of his act in Vegas? Is that repeating itself from West Ed Rob? I can't say for sure, but they won a cup last year. Like, my goodness, if they all of a sudden, and they got off to a great start and then they kind of fell apart. So I don't know if, like, Cassidy really hasn't come out and said much about his team. Like, they have had injuries. I don't like to use injuries as an excuse. I think it's a part of it. It's not everything, but it's a part of it. But I would think it might be a little too early for that at all. And hey, they might have worn tired of his act, but Cassidy went to Vegas and won. So I think his act is still all right. Right. So see how that goes. Hey, Gregor, I love the show, but I disagree with how you've been presenting Colorado in the playoffs. They literally have the exact same chance, if not better, than a few teams. They've recently won, yet they've lost a couple of players, but they still got the best player, arguably, after McDavid and McKinnon, the best defenseman in Makar. It's not like they're old. They're still in their prime. Come playoff time, players like that is something you better watch out for, from Ron. Well, Ron, here's the thing. I don't think Cale Makar is playing like the best defenseman in the NHL this year. Look at all his underlying numbers. They're not very good. And if you actually look at Makar when he's on the ice away from McKinnon this year, it's been brutal. I look at Colorado and their depth. Yes, they won the Cup in 22, but look at their depth that they had then compared to now. It's not close. Not close to the same. Right? Their defense. Look at their size of their defenseman that they won the Cup with and who they have now. They're an infinitely smaller defensive team. And right? And I think that matters. The playoffs, size does matter for your defense core if you look at the last 5 playoffs. Now, Cale Makar is an elite defenseman, 100%. But you looked at all the other guys they had on that D core that year. Josh Manson brought over. He was huge, right? The Johnsons, massive, 230. Right? Not everybody has to be huge, but you look, half of that defense core is gone now, right? And I like Bowen Byram. I like him a lot. I think they miss him. Right? Sammy Girard, you got to remember, wasn't playing that year. And I like Sammy Girard as a player, but come playoff time, when he's playing with that souvenir stick of his that's so short and his size, I think you get into to big games and you're going to be able to bully him around. So I wouldn't be surprised if they beat Winnipeg. I'm just saying, if there is a top team that I think is susceptible, it's them. I don't think Dallas and Edmonton are going to get upset in the first round. Vancouver, maybe I'll see who they play. But Colorado's playing Winnipeg, and that's going to be tough. And I still don't think Colorado can beat Dallas. I like Dallas's team a whole lot. On behalf of Connor Halley, Terry Ryan, Struds, all of our other guests, thank you as always for paying attention, listening to the show, watching the show at Orders Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. We genuinely, truly appreciate it. We hope you have yourselves an awesome Tuesday night. Let's get to the Con Man Sports 1440 update brought to you by Booster Juice. Try the instant classic Matcha on My Mind Booster Blend and try it with the Matcha Chip Booster Ball, as Gene Principe says. It's a matcha made in heaven, only at Booster Juice. Good night.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
Some news coming out of the Oilers practice today. Connor McDavid not on the ice. Head coach Chris Knobloch saying that he would consult with the center on Wednesday ahead of their game against the Vegas Golden Knights. Our very own Jason Gregor reporting that McDavid will miss the game. Connor McDavid had entered the season today, 130 points, third in the league, including a league-high 99 assists. Also, the Oilers have recalled Dylan Holloway from the Bakersfield Condors. He appeared in 18 games with the Oilers' AHL affiliate, tallying 10 goals, adding 6 helpers. On the ice right now, following games are at the first intermission. Hurricanes and Bruins are scoreless. Canadians lead the Flyers 1-0. Caps, Red Wings also scoreless. Lightning and Jackets tied at 1 apiece. Brayden Point with his 44th of the season. Panthers up on the Sens 2-0. Leafs, Devils tied at 1. And the Rangers, not a great start. They trail the Islanders 3-0. Later tonight, the Jets are in Nashville. The Stars host the Sabres. Wild up against the Avs. Ducks host the Kings. Kraken host the Coyotes. And the Flames are in San Jose. In the association, the Raptors in action right now, leading the Pacers 53-46 with 4 minutes remaining in the second quarter. Elsewhere, Sixers up on the Pistons 49-40. Then the Mavericks have a 61-39 lead over the Hornets. Major League Baseball Blue Jays are in action right now. Scoreless between them and the Mariners. That one right now in the bottom of the third. Elsewhere, Yankees up on the Marlins 1-0. Brewers have a 3-1 lead over the Reds. And the White Sox and Guardians tied at 5 apiece. Earlier today, the Tigers knocked off the Pirates 5-3 and Orioles over the Red Sox 7-1. And we've got a Game 7 tonight in the AJ. Whitecourt takes on Canmore. Puck drop in just over an hour. That'll do it for us here on the Jason Gregor Show. We've got Fox Sports Radio coming up at 9 o'clock. And then tomorrow morning, Carius, Douglas, and former NHLer Dave Schlemko, 7 a.m. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
This is Sports 1440.
A Stingray Radio.